1 and 2%, it doesn't matter. If you get enough of them run, it looks like Donald Trump will probably carry that. Well, if he isolates everybody, or conversely, if they isolate his supporters, then once it gets to a national election, if you don't have those votes and you just have people who aren't showing up at the polls, then all of a sudden you get more Joe Biden or whoever.
Absolutely, Democrats will win the election. So I think Trump may have gotten away with it. Here's the other thing too, and I've seen this happen in politics, and Trump can make this mistake also. What worked in 2016, being harsh, brutal, calling names, that may not work now. It just meant I had a guy that ran against me in 1996. He got within 5,000 votes. His assumption was he starts the next election out, he's within 5,000 votes of me,
Right.
Well, we came back, changed style, changed campaign managers. In fact, I hired Corey Lewandowski, who was Trump's first campaign manager.
I was about to say, there's a name.
Yeah, I hired Corey years ago, and we put together a campaign and just walloped this guy the second round. Because in politics, a lot of people think, well, I got close, and now and they try to recreate history. Trump in 2016 got he got away with a lot of name-calling. I mean, up and down, everybody. This is not 2016, and after a while, people may say, hey, I want to hear about the issues. This is a different era now. So I think he's got to be careful, and he could further isolate himself.
I agree. I make it akin to when reality TV first came out. One of the first reality shows was a show called The Real World, and it was on MTV. And every kid at that time that was my age, we all watched and loved it. Then, Survivor starts coming, and then all of a sudden, all of your TV is nothing but reality TV shows, and and then you could see how kind of fake it is, like after a while, but that's all we got because that's what production moved to.
Right.
Maybe in the beginning, the whole name, we've never seen anything like that. Not on a national level. To that extent, we had never seen it before. It was, everybody had to kind of watch it and just kind of was mesmerized by it or hated it, but regardless, they were watching it. And so, but at some point where, by the time this election happens, we'll be 8 years away and probably 10, from when Trump really got started.
Right.
I think it does kind of go back to, okay, give us regular sitcom television. That's what we want again. This reality stuff's for the birds.
Yep. Americans change. They change in opinions and attitudes, and if you don't become aware of that, then usually you make some mistakes. So I think if he's relying on, again, what he did back then, which is what he's doing is what he did back then. Yeah. It may not work this time.
Bob, this comes in for you on our advanced rehab text line, 731-800-8398. It says, ask Bob again if the walls are closing in on Trump potentially with the judges, with the decisions by the judges. I guess this is about that he can be prosecuted.
Right. With Trump, I don't believe that there'll be anything done legally whatsoever about the classified documents. Nothing. Because, for a variety of reasons, but also and also what Biden did with documents. Doesn't matter if Trump had 100 and Biden had 5. It's washed this case into neutrality. So that's not going to happen. Now, he potentially, because of the ruling by the court, he potentially, if the court would rule, the United States government is trying to make him legally liable for January 6th of any statements he made, and then any of the police that were injured as a result of it. So the government's actually in the court process trying to do that. That would hurt him, on a financial basis, and also doesn't look good. I know that. The place that he might be vulnerable, I thought, was Georgia with the election process they're studying down there. And the reason I say that is because there's probably going to be indictments, and sometimes when there's indictments come in, whether it's people like Giuliani or whoever, and I don't know the Giuliani, but the people like that were involved, then sometimes they'll turn here and there, and then the prosecutors have something to go on, towards Trump. There's a possibility New York might have some bearing on him, on Trump, but then again,
you tell me Trump's not going to win New York?
Well, no, the New York prosecutor.
No, I know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, the New York prosecutor went after the CEO of the company. So, as far as the walls coming in on him, I'm not sure how much legally it's going to happen, but I will tell you, all of these things put together don't help him. So, if we're talking about the political walls as a result of the justice system, even if he's not, convicted or, taken to trial or anything of that nature, it still has not helped him. There's no question in my mind all of these cases that keep popping up are not going to help him. It makes people who support him say, I like him, I support him, but this is too much. We need somebody else.
Bob, one last thing here while we've got you. This is interesting. We actually had a gentleman in here yesterday. His name is Scott Bumpus. He's got a friend that lives in East Palestine, Ohio. And we talked a little bit about that. His house is about 300 yards from where the crash was. And when it happened, he was posting pictures on social media and stuff. He was one of these that got evacuated early on. He says he's back now. He's drinking the water from the tap. And Scott says it's really kind of crazy because we're flipping out about it so much, nationally, but he's just, upset that the Pirates are going to be bad this year. So he said, when you look at his social media feeds, he did say that the silence by the train company is deafening. But that's, he said other than that, he's just kind of gone on with his life. But what's going on there now? What's the latest updates we have?
Well, there are some people that are, settling back in, but there's also a lot of people up there that are extremely disturbed. There's more toxic tests going on with the soil and the water supply. There's some tests that the EPA has mandated. The one thing that's for sure is the silence of Norfolk and Southern is deafening. Mm-hmm. No question about that.
And that's
they did come down to a town hall. What's that?
Isn't that that's what my contention was yesterday. It's I'm sure the legal team there is saying, all right, y'all don't say anything, right? No press conferences, no anything until we get all this figured out. Yeah.
Right. And, but there was so much other information out there. I mean, Trump came and then they said, well, the water was 13 years old. That wasn't true. The water wasn't 13 years old. He brought Pete Buttigieg. They talked about his boots, and then Buttigieg blamed Trump, and then we found out it was Obama and Trump administration. So once all of this got out of the way, I think then the focus becomes the railroad and their responsibility up there of what they're going to do. Because the one problem people will have, and I don't know the situation of the man that was in studio yesterday and his friend, but if you're trying to sell your house up there, it's going to be tough.
You're going to have a realtor like Julie. You're going to have somebody that can.
You got to have 5 Julies on steroids. Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'd have a hard time just selling that to somebody with what we know.
Yeah. What would your disclosures look like?
My disclosures would be like, there are none because we don't even know what to tell you. Right. And you are buying this at your own risk. Sign here, here, and here, and release everybody.
Yeah, release
from
all the liability.
Any type of liability. And are you really sure you want to do
now,
this?
I can picture Julie, and then the client's walking towards the house with her, and the client says, I know you said it's okay, but I just want to. Why are you wearing that spacesuit?
Yeah. Why do you have the hazmat? You can't eat the cookies at the open house. You know what I mean?
No.
Don't eat the cookies.
No.
Right.
It is sad, and
it's tough.
We do think about those people. Hopefully, the right thing will be done by the railroad company, either by their own decision or somebody else making that decision for them.
Right, and they need to have transparency and also testing, and because maybe it will be removed from the soil, maybe it's out of the soil. They just need to make sure, and that way people are comfortable up there. And things have happened before, and then communities can be made whole, but they do need to use some of the best science to find out if there is anything still contaminating any of the area.
Oh yeah,
where we've dropped the ball the very most, and this sounds like such a simple thing, but I really believe this, where we've dropped the ball the very most, from locally to state to federally, has been with maintenance of roads, of infrastructure, of equipment, of stuff like this that you do have government oversight on. no small business in America could run the same way a government does, right? If I never changed the oil, we have 14 vehicles, right, that are on the road every single day, just running up and down the roads. If we never changed the oil or rotated the tires, if we just put gasoline in them,
sounds like
it would
me with a
cost
car.
me so much more money. I would go out of business. I couldn't afford to operate. But we've done this. We've allowed, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I read somewhere that this was still 1900s brake technology on these trains, and I have no idea.
It is old technology, and that's, of course, in general, we tend to do this. We don't have preventative maintenance programs, and, the highways, we wait till they get deteriorated, and it's sort of the old expression, you pay now or you pay more later, but we do it with health care, too. There's no real emphasis on wellness as much as there's emphasis on, after you got a problem. It's just sort of, I don't know, nobody wants to upfront the money, I guess.
Yeah. Or it's easy to take the money that you would appropriate for that and then move it into something else. That's what happened in the state of Tennessee for a long, long time with our roads, which used to be by far the best roads in the country. I mean, everybody would say it. I mean, all you had to do was unfortunately go to Kentucky, which I wouldn't recommend to anybody. But if you got lost and you were in Kentucky, the second you crossed back into Tennessee, you could feel it. Now, even Kentucky, which I'm assuming most roads are gravel there, are still in better shape.
That's something.
Still in better shape.
Tennessee always was known for good highways.
No, not anymore. Unless, the only thing it's good for now is if you own a tire company or an alignment company.
Yeah.
I think they've sponsored the new road system.
Right.
Well, Bob, we appreciate you so much, my friend. I hope you have a phenomenal weekend.
You too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bob.
Bye-bye. Bye, Julie.
He's the best. Bob Ney.
Bob.
Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're getting some messages in saying, hey, what happened? The app clicked off. Look, I get you. The internet, I mean, literally, we were in here, and then all of a sudden, everything went down, like on our phones, on our music stuff. It's back up now. So this is kind of tough. If you've texted me, I'm trying to text you back. We've got some messages saying, hey, it's good. It's back on now. Close your app out. Open it back up. Right? But if you can't hear us, that's going to be tough to hear. So I'll just try to text you back. A couple of messages coming in. Says in a tweet, President Joe Biden reaffirmed that Washington. Okay, stop, man. I'm not doing this today. I gave you I read a couple of your messages yesterday. I can't on the transition. Yeah, man. Yep. Smoke it for the love of God, please. This says the live streaming's off. All right, closing in on Trump. Okay, I did ask Bob that one. This comes in Advanced Rehab text line. 731-800-8398 is that number. 731-800-8398. It says, hey, Chuck and Julie, Ballet Arts Jackson is performing Snow White March 17th through 19th. We know it's spring break for Madison County, but we hope you will come support us. Tickets and tea party packages are on sale now at balletartsjackson.org. If your school or homeschool group would like to come to the school performance, please email balletartspresident@gmail.com.
That's awesome.
That is good.
I love when the arts are doing stuff around here.
They are. And we're going to talk about this when we come back, but there's a push now to have some murals done on buildings, not just in downtown Jackson.
All right.
But on buildings throughout. And I'm going to tell you how you can, if you own a building.
First one?
Yes. And you know what we're doing?
Me?
We are doing a mural on the dogs playing the poker. You remember that?
Oh,
the hat?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to put that on the side of our building. Now,
That works.
I don't know that the people of Stonebridge will approve, but I feel like it's one of those do it first and then ask for forgiveness.
You know what I did with painting my house?
Oh, here we go. We weren't going to get any of those messages, but now we are. But now we are getting those messages in.
Yep.
She painted her house black, folks. It looks so cool. The first person to do something, you're like, oh man, I don't know if it's good. But no, it's actually really cool because of those cedar shutters.
Yep, and the cedar shake and all that. Mm-hmm. It's really big in the bigger cities. It's coming this way, but I just simply asked, what colors can I not? And they said pink or purple, and I said touche.
Pink or purple?
And black.
Do y'all have an HOA over there?
Oh yeah.
They just said no pink, no purple.
Yeah.
That's cool. I owned a house one time in a neighborhood. And I lived in the same neighborhood with Steve Bowers had lived in. So it was very affluent, obviously.
Oh, yes.
But in that neighborhood, there was no real HOA. But the lady that we bought the house from, the lady right beside her, said, you know, the guy down the road had tried to paint his house, but we said we didn't want to. And I was like, well, hold on. I was at the closing table. I was like, is there an HOA? Is there money? They're like, no, but we just all kind of get together and talk about what. I was like, oh,
well, you can get together and talk.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna paint the house. Y'all start talking right now.
Yeah.
And this is like when I was buying the house from this person, but I was like, that ain't gonna stop us.
No.
I mean, I'm gonna buy the house.
I'm gonna do what I want.
Yeah, I'm gonna do what I want. That is for sure. Ended up not painting the house, got divorced and whatnot. But you know, such is life.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. You're listening to Walker Talks with Chuck and Julie's triumphant return to greatness.
Watch Tennessee Championship Wrestling every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. on NewsTalkWestTennessee.com.
See all the Memphis legends, Jerry the King Lawler, Dangerous Doug Gilbert, Superstar Bill Dundee, along with stars of today,
The Mid-South Prodigy Bam Bam Bundy, MJ Davis, Mr. Marvelous Mike Mayo, Insane Dane, Big Gravy, The Rocket Josh Benson, Lucky P. Larson, and many, many more.
You can also view TCW on the News Talk West Tennessee app for all your Apple and Android devices.
Catch Tennessee Championship Wrestling every Saturday at noon on NewsTalkWTN.com.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Central Distributors, Jackson.
Let's face it, people want to feel loved, appreciated, and pampered. Beauty to the Bone has a mission and a purpose to help you look and feel beautiful inside and out. From facials to Botox, fillers, lasers, IV therapy, functional medicine, and all in between, we've got you covered. Book your appointment today to feel your very best tomorrow.
Book your appointment today. Call 731-300-9103. That's 731-300-9103.
Looking to add a little spice to your love life?
Nothing adds spice like gunpowder.
Jackson's only indoor shooting range, date night at the range. Here's what you lovebirds get. A shooting lane for two targets, 100 rounds of ammo, eye and ear protection, and a $30 gift certificate to Texas Roadhouse. All for just $99.99.
Now that's firepower.
Perfect for a gift card from the range. The Range, 2310 North Highland Avenue in Jackson.
Go to therange.com.
Vintage doesn't always mean long-lasting. As your home systems age, your repair costs, utility bills, and breakdowns rise. During Hiller's Vintage Showdown, we're giving away a free new system to the owner of the oldest HVAC unit. Submit a picture of your old equipment online to see if you qualify as the winner. Everybody wins with trade-in credits plus 0% financing for up to 48 months with approved credit on select new HVAC systems. Enter to win now at happyhiller.com.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
What do you think he'll get you this year? Candy? Flowers?
No, I was thinking something more sparkly.
Wow, congratulations. How many carats do you think he'll spring forward?
Girl, forget the ring. I want some of that shiny 45 Automark bling.
At 45 Automark, get a jewelry box full of $1,000 savings just by walking in and saying,
"Show me the bling."
We've had an 18-year clean Carfax successful marriage to our customers, and to keep the romance alive, we're taking $1,000 off so our relationship thrives. Say,
"Show me the bling,"
and carry this loaded leather sunroof Honda CRV over the threshold for $11,900. Pick up this 60,000-mile 2020 Chevy Colorado for just $21,900. Don't fall for Mr. Megadigger with a sappy sales spiel and false love sting. Whenever you drive in your Forever 45 ride will give you the feels like a sweet romance with $1,000 off because you said,
"Show me the bling."
So call 989-8059 or come to 45 Automark today. Wear your $1,000 off the perfect for you ride with that love's in bloom at first sight feeling that'll make you swoon and leave you reeling. Dealer!
Hi, my name's Dawn. I have been taking BioT at Advanced Medical. My moods are better. I sleep well. My husband has complimented me on the mood swings that are no longer affecting our marriage.
Are these problems affecting your work, your relationships, and your quality of life? You'll be happy to know there's an exciting, natural solution available called BioT. BioT uses a natural way for men and women to correct these problems by safely and accurately balancing hormone levels without the use of synthetic injections or cream.
I got blood work done, and they identified what hormones were out of balance. They gave me the bioidentical hormone pellets through BioT, and now I have more energy, no more brain fog, I'm sleeping better, and I feel like my old self again. I would recommend Advanced Rehab and Medical and their BioT program to anyone suffering with symptoms like mine. It's been life-changing.
To book your appointment, call 731-462-8580. That's 731-462-8580.
When the game goes into overtime. But the game goes into overtime. The choice to enjoy is easy. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Pick up Bud Light at your local convenience store today. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Central Distributors, Jackson.
News Talk West Tennessee includes NewsTalk965.com and NewsTalk 96.5 FM, covering local news, sports, and weather on an extensive network of platforms, including radio, social media streaming, digital TV, live stream, podcasts, all on your devices. Our local and live weekday lineup includes Daybreak with Greg Wood and G-Unit, Walker Talks with Chuck Walker and Julie Holt, The Dan Reeves Show with Gina Langley and Larry Newman, Dave Ramsey, Jackson-Madison County Schools Game of the Week, UT Vols Sports, and the Memphis Grizzlies. Local, live, News Talk West Tennessee and NewsTalk965.com. Hear it first on News Talk 96.5 FM. We might be talking about you.
Last night we let the liquor talk. I can't remember everything we said, but we said it all. You told me that you wish I was somebody you never met. But baby, something's telling me this ain't over yet. No way it was our last night. I kissed your lips, make you grip the sheets with your fingertips. Last bottle of Jack, we split a fifth. Just talking about life, going sip for sip. Yeah, you know you love to fight. And I say shit I don't mean, but I'm still gonna wake up wanting you and me. I know that last night we let the liquor talk. I can't remember everything we said, but we said it all. You told me that you wish I was somebody you never met. But baby, something's telling me this ain't over yet. No way it was our last night. No way it was our last night. No way it was the last night that we break up. I see your taillights in the dust. You call your mama, I call your bluff. In the middle of the night, pull it right back.
Welcome back into Walker Talks here on 96.5 FM, NewsTalk965.com. That's our new website. We don't like to brag, but we got a new website. The last one, we were too big for. We were too big for the last website. We outgrew it. We had to move. There was no foreclosures. I don't want to hear those rumors out there on the old website. We had to get a new one. The new one is NewsTalk965.com. NewsTalk965.com. You can watch us live there. You can listen. There's been a little bit of trouble with our internet provider. They had to shut down and then open back up, like restart it back up. So if you're out there trying to listen on the app, we're trying to connect to it. Said they should be back at full strength in a minute, but you can watch live on NewsTalk965.com. You can watch live, of course, listen in your car and all that kind of stuff. So, Julie,
Yes.
You've been gone for a couple of days this week, understandably so, but we have had a really busy couple of days on the show.
So give me the lowdown, the 411.
Okay, well, we had, yesterday afternoon, Governor Lee did sign into law.
Yep.
And most bills are effective in July. This one's going to be effective April 1st about the drag show and the medicines and stuff. And there's parts of the bill that I think make so much sense. And there's parts of the bill that I think could be in areas of gray. So we're curious to see what you guys out there think. Our numbers are 731-265-6496. 731-265-6496. 6496. It's our Jackson IV and Wellness Clinic call-in number, 731-265-6496. Our Advanced Rehab text line is 731-800-8398, 731-800-8398. This comes in, it says, Obama-era safety rule for high-hazard cargo trains was repealed under Trump. I can't refute that. I'm sure that's good information, but I do know that a lot of people are saying, look, this was a continuation of some lax accountability under the Obama administration and continued under the Trump and now continued under President Biden. So I don't know. And honestly, does it matter what president was in office when this happened, or does it matter that, hey, we just got to get this fixed ASAP, right? Why don't we meet the problem right here in the ring first and then worry about going back and assigning blame? Because honestly, I don't care if it was Obama and I don't care if it was Trump. I just think we've got to get this fixed so this stuff quits happening, because it's happening. We've had how many train wrecks now? Derailments?
Yeah, I mean, there was one, last week in North Carolina or South Carolina? Mm-hmm. I mean, it seems like every time we turn around, there's a train derailment.
When our Catholic consigliere, Tony, was in with us, he posed the question that I know some people have thought of because I've seen it out there yesterday. And he's like, I wonder if this is like a George Soros attack thing. Like, I wonder if we're being, I was like, surely not.
I mean,
this is
I've said that. Like, I think that there's so much going on, and we've got elections, starting to gear up, and like, what if they're doing all of this just to say, well, this is because Trump pulled that?
It's too risky.
Because Trump pulled that and changed that law that Obama had set.
It'd be risky.
I'd like to make a call.
Uh-oh. Look here. I hit the wrong button, maybe. Good morning and welcome in. You're on Walker Talks with Chuck and Julie.
Right. Good morning.
Good morning, bud.
Good morning.
Julie, where in the world have you been?
Well, Sunday morning, my sweet grandmother decided not to wake up, so she went to heaven.
Oh, bless her heart. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but we celebrated her life yesterday, and it was good, and we had a ton of family in and from all over, and it was sad, but it was good.
Got you. Well, let's certainly hate that for you.
It's a sad part of life for all of us, isn't
it is.
Day.
Well, for her, it's a great part of life because she's back with her husband. They were married for 47 years, and she's back with him, and she's happy. And, what better way to go than in your sleep? I mean, if that isn't mercy and grace, then I don't know what is.
That's exactly right, Julie. Hey, Chuck.
Yes, sir.
You need to reset your streaming again. You got Dan Reeves talking.
Yeah, I know. We're having some. JA had a small internet outage, and so they're trying to power everything back up. They said it's going to take 10 or 15 minutes. But yeah, we are aware of the situation. Thank you, though, for the heads up, because anytime you hear that, you let us know so I can at least attempt to work on this end.
Well, my power just faded out. I guess somebody hit a power pole, or JEA hasn't trimmed back the trees like they're supposed to. See, that's the problem. That's why, Julie, you need to demand, when you become a city council lady, that all electrical has to be buried underneath the ground. And while you're digging and putting all the electrical in the ground, keep all these fire outages from happening, because it's totally unnecessary. We do live in 2023.
Yeah.
Somewhere on the globe, Chuck Walker.
I'm going to find common ground.
I'm 100% with this.
We don't always find common ground, but we have found common ground on this, Rick. And you've said this on this show. This will be our 7th week now, and you've brought this up 4 or 5 times just on here, just on this show. And you have said that the roundabout, where they put the roundabout, the drainage and all that. And I saw a picture 2 nights ago that Olivia Abernathy had taken of that roundabout being flooded out. I mean, there was water up to the door handle of a sedan. It was insane.
Yeah.
That's because Scotty Boy hasn't cleaned out the tile drain that's probably full of garbage.
I don't know what needs to be done. I don't know if it's a staffing
y'all
issue
famous,
or what, but it's
y'all
got to
are
be
famous.
done.
Well, y'all famous for dumping everything from washers, dryers, refrigerators, stoves. See, I had to get involved in the Tennessee River Basin Authority. You want to hear this story?
Yeah, go.
All right. Have you ever heard of Dyer Creek?
I have. That's over there behind where that golf course is. Where
Hidden Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not Hidden Valley anymore, Lord. I used to be a member there. Jackson National now. Jackson National.
Yeah, whatever. It's golf course. Thank goodness, because if it wasn't for the golf course, my state law wouldn't have come into effect quick enough, and I'd be part of your cadre in Jackson, and I wouldn't want that to happen to anyone.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is, you're big friends with county mayor, aren't you, Julie? Y'all went to school together or something?
No, we didn't.
Didn't?
I would not say that we are friends.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
No,
well,
I actually hosted parties for John Newman, and he was running for county mayor.
Oh, okay. All right. So
yeah.
So the key is that all the creeks, like Dyer Creek, when they built the baseball stadium that they've never paid for, they did not do adequate landscaping.
At the baseball
what they did, Pringles Park. What they did, Chuckles, was they disrupted the natural flow of runoff. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, now the same thing happened when they put in Milan Express and created a heck of a sinkhole by the pilot. See? That's what I'm talking about. When you build around here, they don't, like, you want to argue with me that at Cooper Anderson Road, that they went out and, look, man, King Bradley's property is a hill, oh my God, probably about the same elevation as my house on the hill out here.
Right.
And so you got Dyer Creek that gets flooded every time it rains because your local leaders, you know, Scotty Boy Congor and the county mayor, what's his name, AJ, apparently they haven't found their way to the West Tennessee River Basin Authority meeting because all they got to do is ask, and that organization will come over here and clean out creeks so they won't flood.
Well, then why don't you and I go? We've already been to one meeting together. Why don't you and I go to the next River Basin Authority, and we will ask on behalf of this radio show if they will come clean our creeks and ditches.
I'm coming too. Don't leave me out.
And Julie's in too. There's three of us. We're going carpool.
Well, no, I'm not going to the River Basin Authority.
Do you have one? Do you have warrants there?
You and your little wannabe king, Scotty Boy Congor needs to go there. You know why?
Why's that?
Because Dyer Creek is part of the Jackson, Tennessee city limit sign. It's in your town. It's your responsibility. But y'all don't study, no. Hey, by the way, Julie, I don't know if you know this or not, but Miss Smith out of the Congor Road Committee or whatever he's got going on, she finally decided she needed to write a grant to help with a grant to actually put drainage into Jackson, Tennessee. You know,
well, that's good news, right?
It's about time in 2023 y'all get off of these gullies. See,
well, that's good
kinda
news.
Just kind of like Charlie, the Monkey Shine Deaton buying 10 acres of gully by a schoolhouse.
Well, but now you're going to get a new roundabout. You're going to get a new roundabout to get lost in.
I'm so against that roundabout. I don't know if I can even voice as much. And
no, absolutely, Julie. You know, it's kind of like this is the typical Detonite, Congour lack of thought. They want to concentrate on covering up the problem that Chuck just mentioned. The reason that the roundabout was put in the middle of US 45 going to downtown Jackson because they didn't have any money in order to replace a tile drain that's as big as Mount Everest underneath that road.
I've never seen anything like it, Rick. I will be, and again, like I said, you and I go at each other pretty hard, which I love. I love that. I love to be challenged. But that's one thing we can agree on. I had no idea that was even a town in America. Like, I thought it was it looked like those 1980s, miniseries they used to have where people were like throwing sandbags up, like in Texas and Oklahoma. There's a huge storm coming in and there's this giant flood. I had no idea that could happen in our town. But that picture, if you haven't seen it, Rick, you need to get on Facebook and look it up. A ton of people have shared it, but it was insane. I bet that water was 2 feet high, 2.5 feet high.
Who shared it?
Olivia Abernathy. Okay. Yeah, it was mind blowing. Have you seen the photo I'm talking about, Rick?
I'm going.
I have
number for you, but I'm going to text it to you, or text the show, and I'll text it back. Text our.
Well, is it on her? Is it on her Facebook?
It is. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's alarming.
The sun is out. Your competitor, they got scared.
Holy crap!
Yeah, they got a wind going down Main Street.
Yeah,
and it was so strong that it tore their what do you call that rag over the front door, Julie? What do you call that?
An awning.
There you go, Chuck. It's gone. Supposedly.
I hate
they got trash cans going everywhere downtown, but like in the Ponderosa out here where we live, we got a little gust of wind. Y'all just need to quit fabricating stuff around here weather-wise. Y'all scare these folks to death.
We were sitting in here earlier, just maybe 20 minutes ago, and the front doors of the station just blew wide open.
Now, but in the weather's defense, we have the worst doors. Like every door there's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 8 doors in this office building, and none of them work right. So it doesn't have like a lot of wind. Well, we're getting it all worked out, one kink at a time.
Well, Julie, we certainly have been missing you, and I know Chuck has been missing you. Because without you, that dude, he was spinning like a top.
Was he?
Yeah, Rick and I laid into each other pretty good a couple of times. I
called in one time just for a second.
Are you, Rick? Are you anything with this bill passage that you wish there would have? I know you support the bill passage, but is there anything else you wish it would have added, or did it check every box for you that Governor Lee signed yesterday?
Oh, I just don't want perverts to be able to harvest babies into their wickedness.
Right, yeah, I think everybody wants to protect kids. What about everybody that I would want to talk to ever in my life at any time would be somebody who would want to protect children? I think we can all agree on that. That's a good thing. Now,
no, that's not true.
Well, they're bad.
That's not true.
Well, it's definitely true in my opinion. Anybody that I'd want to talk to, I do think would have the best outlook on children for. I am curious where this bill goes and how it gets manipulated, because what I think it's done is it's isolated both sides to the point now where there's going to be a lot of back and forth, which I don't think is very productive.
All right. No, not really. It just means that if you get out and go obscene, you're going to get arrested. That's what that means.
And I agree. Like, so even like an attractive woman can't wear a G-string and like pick up this. Hold on, Rick. An attractive woman can't wear a G-string to Kroger, right? We agree with that. So we've had obscenity laws before, right? So that exists. What about just someone wearing like one of those big muumuu dresses and not being obscene?
Hey.
You know what I'm talking about.
Get off me, because you can go by my house at any time and I will be in a muumuu.
Be in a muumuu. You know what I'm talking about though, Rick. That's what I worry about next.
Do is visit the Madison County Jail and ask the sheriff to give you interview time with all the, quote, sexual perverts that are in there.
Ew.
Why?
Yeah.
But I mean, why would I want to interview the perverts in there?
So that you could have a distinct understanding of reality.
Well, I mean, I think
why the law was passed.
So all of those people in there were drag queens that got arrested for pedophilia? That's what you're saying? Because I don't think that's true.
I'm just telling you, you need to have your eyes opened up.
Well, yeah,
because
anything that would protect children, I'm about. Well, I would. I just don't know that this is the only thing. I think there's so many more ways and additional ways we can protect children. We can start doing audits at churches, at Boy Scouts, with little leagues, with soccer leagues. I mean, I think that there's a whole lot more that now that we've opened this door up, I think there's a whole lot more that we should do.
Well, you know why?
Why?
Let me give you a quick lesson about Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts,
little leagues. I mean, there's awful things that have happened everywhere.
They have been noted. Chuck, I've got a couple of manuals that from my career, and what you need to understand is that you would be amazed at the number of gatherings that you just mentioned were centers of molestation of kids, where mamas and daddies release their children without properly checking out the people that they release them to.
Yeah, I read a stat that said 90% of children who are sexually abused know the perpetrator. So it's family, it's a preacher, it's a youth minister, it's a leader, it's somebody that they in some way felt close to.
A lot of times it's family members. Yep. I think even if you took that 90%, more than half of that would be by a member of family. This is something I don't talk about a lot. My mother moved out of her house when she was 16 years old, grew up in McKenzie. The whole side of the family I never met. She was molested when she was 12 years old. She told her mom, she lived in a very small community. Her parents were 50 when they had her, and then 54 when they had her sister. She was molested by her uncle. It was such a small town, and they all lived kind of together in a commune there in McKenzie, kind of going towards Gleason. She told her mom didn't do anything about it. She said, this can't get out at church. And so she was molested for a couple of years till she moved out at 16. So I get really adamant about this. My mom never had a normal relationship with a man in her entire life. She was married 7 times. I had a very odd childhood because of that, because she never did trust men, because her parents let her down in the way that they should have protected her the most. And it was very heartbreaking, and it's very sad. But I will say this. We need to make sure that this is really about kids and not about just people being gay, because there's high clips of this that happens all the time. And of all the times that these abhorrent things happen at drag shows or pride events are a very low percentage of it. So if we want to add on to this legislation to where these things really do happen at a higher rate, then you know what? I'm going to shut my mouth about it, and I'm going to be all for it, because if it is about protecting kids, then we're going to see additional legislation passed where it really happens more often. And you're going to see aggressive legislation. And I think people will support it, because then it will be about helping the kids. Don't you think, Rick?
No, people of that genre, they finally realize that they will not be able to harvest babies into their evilness. So you already had law, which your mayor decided to violate.
We didn't have laws. So this is where we get lost. When we start about protecting kids, we're like, oh yeah, same page. Now the problem is, I know people who are homosexual. I'm not scared to death of them. They have no interest in children. They don't even have any interest in me, which again, I'm blown away. I've never been hit on by a gay person. It's a little insulting, I'll be honest with you, but I've never been hit on by a gay person. You know who they like? They like people they're attracted to. They like other homosexual people. They have relationships with them. They don't care to. So I actually know some of these people. This isn't a big, and this is where you and I will have a disagreement, because I know some of these people. They're not harvesting children. They were trying to have a welcoming show where if two homosexual parents did have a child, they could come. Or if a kid had been kicked out of their house because they had been gay, they could come. Those are the facts. The salaciousness is about, oh my gosh, this is a large group of pedophiles that are meeting up to kidnap kids, and there's going to be 300 kids. I mean, none of that was ever true here in Jackson. None of that was ever true at all. Not one time. Not one time. And so I can't let you say that on the program. Now, what happens in San Francisco and in Dallas, I can't speak for, because I've only interviewed and I've only talked to, and I only know the people that I know, right? So I don't know everybody. There's probably tragic things that have happened in other places. But I can tell you here, that wasn't the point of it.
Well, I don't know about where you grew up and your life experience. All I can relate to you is I've been very well trained in my career to deal with some very horrible interviews of what we're referring to.
Right, and those people should
Why
go straight
the
to
law?
hell.
Well, see, there was a law against that, Chuck.
Against which part?
The deviance, okay?
Okay.
That has permeated. It's kind of like, oh, that's okay, but it's not okay. See, it's not okay for LGBTQ to introduce their perversion onto an innocent mind so that they can manipulate. They can.
Are you talking about like a scantily clad drag queen?
No, he's talking like that the reason they're gay is because they're perverse.
Is that what you're saying, Rick?
Yes, there's different degrees of sexual deviancy within that quote community that I've never heard you discuss. You probably, I don't know if you know.
Oh, yeah.
That or not.
I do. And Rick, I'm so glad you brought this up, actually, because you're because this was another part of the interview that I did that I asked about. You're talking about the parts of groups that want to normalize, like groups like NAMBLA, like North American Man Boy Love Association. They want to normalize being able to date children. Is that what you're referring to?
No, I think what he's saying is a lot of people, the older generation think that they are perverse. That's why they're gay. Not that they're born gay. It's a conscious choice and it's perversion. And that's what he's saying.
Which part are you talking about, Rick? Just so we can be on the same page with you.
Well, then we get into obscenity to the highest degree.
But you didn't.
I know you love to mingle in fast food and parents hadn't been doing for the last 40 years. Otherwise, we wouldn't have such a horrendous amount of illiteracy in your county that you chose to live in.
Okay.
That's documented fact.
But see, I feel like we jumped because we were trying to get on the same page with you with what you were saying. So were you talking about what Julie was saying or me? Because I think you and I were getting close to the same page here. Which one were you talking about?
No, we're not on the same page.
Okay. So you said the word perversion of mind and things like that, and I hear you and I get you.
He's saying that they're perverted because they're gay. Like not that they're
born that way?
Yes, that's what he's saying, because where I grew up in church and stuff, it's always been considered a perversion and not an actual, like you are born and you are gay. Okay. I believe it's a choice and a sexual perversion.
No. See, biblically, none of that matches up. First of all, you've got to recognize and realize the reality of Sodom and Gomorrah. our history.
But Sodom
Then you
Gomorrah, when you get and you read it and you read the context of all the scripture, it was men stepping out on their wives. It was not a monogamous relationship.
Well, that never happens in churches. So go ahead, Rick.
Okay, so then you need to focus yourself on the first chapter of Romans, and ultimately, it doesn't get any plainer than this. This is not. By the way, if you feel like laying down with the same sex, it's okay. No, it's far from okay. First Romans tells you explicitly, okay, the word, everybody talks about everybody's sin, yes, but you don't recognize the significance of, my Bible doesn't tell me sin, it tells me an abomination. Abomination, guys. That's the highest degree of defamation.
What translation do you use, just for curiosity? What translation do you use in your Bible, Rick?
I grew up with King James, and then the Living Bible came out, Chuck. And so there is no interpretation of
there's huge translations differences with some words into the English language, and depending on the version, there's huge discrepancies. That's why some denominations, and if we're going to live in this theocracy, which, you know what, might as well, if we're going to live in it, I'm just curious, are we going to be the one that's more Church of Christ? Are we going to be Southern Baptist? Are we going to be Independent Baptist? Maybe Methodist, Pentecostal? Which theocracy, denomination? No, I'm asking. I'm just asking.
You need to have a, that's another thing about, that's not really what the Scripture says. Well, what you really need to do, because...
Well, it wasn't written in English, right? Surely to goodness we can agree on that. That they didn't write the Bible. Yeah, no, I know. I'm asking to make sure he knows. It's not in. They didn't write the Bible in English, right?
No, actually, you need a Greek interpreter.
Greek is New Testament. Hebrew is Old Testament.
Yeah, Hebrew is Old Testament. Go ahead.
No, Greek. Greek.
Greek what?
Greek. The Bible.
No, the Old Testament is written in Hebrew. The New Testament is Greek.
Right.
That's what I'm telling you. All this in Romans is where, Gabe? It's in the New Testament, by the way.
It is?
So, yeah, Romans is.
Yeah, we're going really slow here. I feel like it's, sometimes.
Well, they're not using the word abomination, but they are also even talking about people who don't agree with their parents, slander, arrogant, boastful, evil. But he's talking about sin as a whole. That's the thing.
No, he's talking about it's an abomination for a lady to lay down with a lady and a man to lay down with a man.
Okay, what about heterosexual people who have laid down with people they weren't married to, and they weren't even married?
Sinful.
Are they allowed to be in the church?
Who's that?
People who have had premarital sex and extramarital sex.
Yeah.
They're allowed to be in the church?
Yeah, they need to repent.
Right.
But see, you gay folks, y'all don't have any inclination to repent.
And how many gay people are you around and do you talk to?
Gabe, you don't understand.
No, this is Chuck.
Well, I can't
tell the difference.
Understand how
my voice is much sexier.
Conversation. I didn't talk to Gabe.
Well, I invited Gabe in. Gabe was coming in today.
Did you?
Yeah, I invited Gabe in.
Nobody knows. He's like a little weasel back there in the corner.
He's
popping his head up. You know the game where you pop the weasel with a hammer.
Yeah, now that'll get you kicked out of a drag show. Go ahead, Rick.
All right. So ultimately, you can't brighten it up. You can't bring the perversion that has been accepted by the woke society. And I'm not so sure that Gabe's not turned over to the woke society. To hear him, talk about that homosexual, lesbians, and all, they just get to do their perversion, and that's not the case, guys.
I'm just going to say this because this is something I've wavered on for years and years, and read and studied and prayed and tried to figure it out. I think that we like to pull these little excerpts of scripture about why it's wrong, but then we don't use everything else that's around the scripture, which talks about premarital sex, being boastful, arrogant, greed, all of that, which are even being fat, gluttonous. Those are all active lifestyles of sin, and everything can be forgiven. Nobody's going to be perfect. We're all going to be sinners, because the only person who is without sin has already died, and there's only one sin that is unforgivable, and that's not believing.
And somehow this is coming into religious talk, which I absolutely refuse to do on a radio show, because you're not going to talk about it. But this was about legislation, and could you pass legislation, and could you rightfully, legally discriminate against a group? Well, hold on, let Rick finish. Could you rightfully, legally discriminate against a group of people based off of a religious view? It seems like the answer is yes.
But look, it's just this simple. What you're trying to justify is unjustifiable.
And which part is unjustifiable? Being gay, singing to a Cher song? Which part is unjustifiable? Wearing a dress if you're a man, wearing a tuxedo if you're a woman? Where's the which part's unjustifiable?
Look, Chuck, you're trying to justify perversion.
Which part?
Obscenity. What do you mean? What?
You've never been to a drag show. You didn't talk to any people that were hosting this drag show. I don't understand. And you keep saying the word obscenity. What does obscenity mean to you? Because it sounds like what you're saying is obscene is just being gay. Is being gay obscene? Is that what the word means? Okay.
It is.
Okay, good. You know what? Then thank you. I got you. I don't know that that's, to me, that's not obscene. To me, that's not obscene. To me, wearing Hello Kitty pajama pants at Walmart is obscene, right? I don't like that. But see, the problem with this comes in, and the reason so many rational people who may agree with this, who may say, because I find myself on the side of saying, look, kid probably shouldn't be at a drag show, even if it's kid friendly or not. Let's just not have it. Let's just not do it. But that same side, that same logical side of me is like, you know what? Hooters may need to be 18 and up too. You know, I could live in a world where Hooters is 18 and up as well. And then I could say things like, well, you know, these kids, I know that we can't be with them 24/7. Maybe we should have a government approved app on our phone that our kids have to have 18 and under. They have to have an app on the phone that's approved by the government. See, this is where reasonable people can go. It doesn't mean that they just agree with this law, so it's obviously good. You got to see what else could come down the pike, because you don't want to ever give to a government too much control. You complain about the Democrats and Joe Biden all the time, and a lot of times I think rightfully so. But we got to be careful how many people we invite in to us to parent our children, when the parents should be doing that, making those decisions.
Well, I got news for you. Parenting has taken a tremendous left turn for the last 40 years.
So should the government be doing
immaturity? No. The immaturity, okay, is permeated to the point of no return of personal accountability, responsibility.
Okay, so it's no return of personal accountability, responsibility. So is it our government's job to raise the kids now? Should we just send them to orphanages, just like government-run camps? And since it's to the point of no return, should we send the children so the government can raise good moral? Because it seems like I've read this story before somewhere.
No, you're totally off base.
No. You said parents have gone to the point of no return, where they don't read to their children, they don't do anything with their kids. The government has obviously stepped in. I'm just asking, how much should the government step in?
They expect somebody else to do what they are obligated to do for their offspring. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, the schoolhouse has transformed itself into hiding information. There's a massive lawsuit that that you're a candidate for president out of California IA is going to get blasted with. They are firing teachers. They are firing teachers, okay? Because the teachers would not adhere to withholding information that the school system was creating in transforming other people's children.
All right, I got you. This is moving slow here, so I got to speed up. We got a couple of texts. This says the Bible has been edited more times than a CNN Russiagate article. It says, yeah, Rick, because there's no sexual deviance around heterosexual folks. This comes in, it says, tell Rick that we put our hand on the Bible to uphold the Constitution. We don't put our hand on the Constitution to uphold the Bible. Rick is tyrannical, authoritarian, pompous, religious hypocrite. In my opinion, he's using religious views in his comments about gays. This says Rick would fit in perfectly in the 1600s. This says there are already existing obscenity laws in place to protect the public. And I think that's it, right? I mean, this is not something that did not exist before. You could not get up there and take your clothes off. Male, female, or any other version of, right? Nobody could do that in a public park. Nobody could do that in a public park. Nobody could do that in a public building. Male or female, heterosexual or straight. So the question comes in that I've read, and what I can't justify in my mind is, okay, where is the need for this?
No, there's no need for it. It's political power at its worst. It grabs a narrative, drag shows, right? And then it takes it to the legislative floor, and now a law is passed because it is targeting a made-up windmill by a bunch of Don Quixotes who don't have anything better to do, and they are loud, but they are by far in the minority. And they make this an issue when truly, at its core, there's no issue.
But all right, so with this new legislation, and I haven't read every word of it because my mind starts to numb after a long time, and they haven't put it on TikTok yet, so I haven't seen it. But could I dress up, like put a thing on, right? Put a dress up like womanless beauty reviews. Schools have had those for years.
I was in one.
Okay, I think I was actually in one when I was a kid at Bell's, like in 5th grade. But regardless, I think I remember that. I put it on that. I lip sync to this song, which I think is one of the best songs of all time. Purple Rain is on my Mount Rushmore of favorite songs. I lip sync to that. I don't ever disrobe, but there are kids. Am I going to jail?
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on. Then go back to what you said earlier. There are already laws on the books for this kind of thing.
Right.
This is it's unnecessary. It's taking a narrative that was created. Like, look, Chris Todd, the guy that brought this bill forward, he didn't know what a drag show was before he got some edited clips of a YouTube video that got sent around.
Gabe, can we agree on this? Some of those videos, and we all know what we're talking about when we say those videos, some of those were obscene, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right, and
there's obscenity in every walk of life, every aspect. And I asked Chris Todd.
So you think that heterosexual can be obscene? Heterosexual people can be obscene as well? Go ahead. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. And I asked Chris Todd in here in October, whenever we were both in here, I said, like, why aren't you cracking down on kids sneaking into R-rated movies? Because that's on the books, right? Kids can't go into R-rated movies. Where's the legislation for that? He didn't have an answer because he knows deep down that there's nothing to this. This is political theater. And it sure as hell has gotten him a lot of attention for it. National.
We read an article last week from the UK talking about this, citing Jackson, Tennessee. Like, we've made big boy news.
It's embarrassing.
We've made big boy news. It's not when you do it under the cover of let's protect kids, because we can all get behind that banner of protecting children.
Well, if you think
we're not going to ever fight about really protecting children. The only question comes in, and what you need to ask yourselves out there if you're listening, are we all ready? Because the same song. All right, I'm just wearing a dress. Julie lets me borrow her dress. I'm wearing the dress. I'm singing the song, wearing a Prince wig, having a good time. Maybe I don't go to jail. But if I'm wearing what I'm wearing right now, and I take my shirt off, and I take my pants off, and I act like it's, we're at Spinnaker's at, PCB circa 1997, I probably would go to jail, right? Because that would be obscene. But that didn't have to be a new law passed for that. That was an existing law that would put me in jail.
If you're at Spinnaker's, you're probably 18 unless it's teen night. And then if you're at Spinnaker's at teen night, you're not having that. They're not doing already in place. Like all of these things were in place.
That's the question. So I'm ready to find the purpose, because I sure as hell want to protect kids, because I think it's awful when bad things happen to children. And so everyone else, the entire audience is shaking their head at the same time. Agreed. The question is, it just comes to the need, or is this posture? Because what I don't want to be done is, I don't want someone to treat me like I'm stupid, even if I am. I don't like feeling that way. So don't just come up with something to say, look what I've done for you here while you're picking my pocket,
Look, it is political theater at the expense of a group of people, and that's not okay. That is when politics...
Definitely targeted.
Yeah, and that's when it's worse, because they are taking advantage of a group of people who don't have the power or the voice, and they're using that as a pedestal. Look, Bill Lee signed this into law like that, and he doesn't sign things into law like that. This is one of the fastest pieces of legislation he signed into law, right? Mm-hmm. And that's, he knows where he stands in the national narrative too. Like, he's an up and coming Republican politician.
Yeah, there were people who would put him in the same breath with Ron DeSantis just a couple of months ago. When I was on my old station, we had people call up. We just interviewed him. I'll tell you this: I've interviewed him 3 times. I loved him every single time. I've loved him every single. He's smooth on air. How about that?
Well, he doesn't say a lot, and I think, and I think that's
heard
why
the questions I posed.
Well, I think that's why he's more dangerous to people. When I say dangerous, I mean to people who don't agree with the way he thinks. He's more dangerous than DeSantis. He's more dangerous than Trump, because he probably believes a lot of the same things, but he is smart enough not to run off at the mouth like they do.
Like the guy, I am curious about this law, because how many times can you go to jail? How many different ways can you go to jail? What can you do? What can you not do? Again, I always bring it back to my son's girlfriend. One of her favorite things to do, and I've told her she could end up in the prison, is to wear his hoodie. She'll go to grocery store in the hoodie. Sometimes she'll come up to his work. She'll have his hoodie on. I'm like, all right, well, when you go to jail, don't call me.
Look, I think
I'm trying to stay on the right side of the law for once.
And who's going to prosecute these two? Because I think that comes down to it, right? Like, they can be laws, but if you're going to get in trouble, you got to have somebody to prosecute these things. And
would you have been okay if they said this? No kids at a drag show 18 and up. Period. And then we're not doing anything else with the law.
No, because drag shows there's nothing wrong. But
some are. Some are.
Sure. So if it's a sexually suggestive drag show, just like if it's a sexually suggestive performance, then you want to give a parental notification or a parental warning. But even in the end, for a lot of those things, it's still up to the parents whether they want to take their kids or not.
Kind of like a video game.
Sure.
Like, how video games have ratings on them?
Yeah. Or like song lyrics.
Song lyrics. Ratings. And I get that sexual things, we tend to put those in a separate box as, violent images, or like, for whatever reason, our society isn't quite comfortable with a lot of sexuality. So, I do understand maybe how people's radar would go up, but yeah, you just put a parental warning, or you say, hey, there will be some sexually suggestive performances, because it's a performance.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know enough about it, other than I just get really scared when I feel like the government is growing. Like, you know what I mean? That always makes me nervous on either side, Republican or Democrat. And liberals, and I'm not talking about you, Gabe, or anybody else, but I'm talking about just that seems to be the party of bigger government. And one of the conservative rally cries has always been, look, smaller government, more freedom, less governmental control.
That's right.
That's what I grew up hearing. That's what I grew up believing. That's what I grew up listening to. So as a conservative, I'm like, hey, where's our less government, more freedom, more individualistic choice? That's what's making me raise this question, because we know for a fact, I told the story, and I've never told it on air before, about my mom who was molested. And so I believe this is a real thing, but also don't go around calling people pedophiles. Unless I know for sure. I would never, because to me that's the most disgusting thing you can be. And I know some of the people who were putting on this event, and there's some of the best people in Jackson, the most giving of their time. They're the opposite of that. They're giving. They sit on important boards. And so just because I don't agree, I was never going to the drag show. There was no danger of me ever going there. But I do know this. If a child was there and they said, hey, it's going to be family friendly, I know the human beings running that thing, it would have been family friendly. It would not have been any more provocative than a trip to Kroger.
Sure. Look, here's the bottom line. More kids have been molested in church than they have at a drag show.
Yeah.
Like that, I mean, like, you can't argue with that.
Right.
You can't argue.
But more kids go to church than drag show.
They do. But okay, then if we're protecting children, then, let's push the SBC to release that list. And I didn't see any politicians doing that.
It's crazy to think about, but this whole thing, this all came out together, that list and this drag show, it all came out together. That's crazy timing. Crazy timing. You are listening to Walker Talks. Last bastion of freedom on the airways. That's actually not true. Dan can do whatever he wants to do with his shows as well. I don't actually make him do anything with his shows. Greg can. But I will say this, to their credit, they don't tell me what I can talk about. Julie, they don't tell you what you can talk about, do they?
No.
We let it get buck, and we don't mind. #wild. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Hampton Inn & Suites of Jackson. Make yourself at home in any of the 83 rooms or suites. Hampton Inn & Suites exit 83 at I-40 is minutes away from all Jackson destinations like the West Tennessee Healthcare Sportsplex, Casey Jones Village, Jackson Madison County General Hospital, and many industrial complexes. Enjoy free Wi-Fi, free parking, and free hot breakfast. Also a 24-hour fitness and business center. Welcome to West Tennessee. Make your reservations now by calling direct at 731-427-6100 or visit hampton.com.
Vintage doesn't always mean long-lasting. As your home systems age, your repair costs, utility bills, and breakdowns rise. During Hiller's Vintage Showdown, we're giving away a free new system to the owner of the oldest HVAC unit. Submit a picture of your old equipment online to see if you qualify as the winner. Everybody wins with trade-in credits plus 0% financing for up to 48 months with approved credit on select new HVAC systems. Enter to win now at happyhiller.com.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
If you're in business, you know just how important each call is. You don't have time for phone or internet downtime. Your business needs a reliable communications partner 24/7. You need Lifeline Voice and Data. Lifeline Voice and Data provides telephone service to emergency service facilities all over West Tennessee and beyond. For your business, we don't just provide a phone line. We provide a lifeline. Lifeline Voice and Data.
My name is Steven and I'm 41 years old. I started having problems with my weight, my focus, my energy all around. I spent thousands of dollars a year on supplements trying to get my weight down, and it never worked.
Are these problems affecting your work, your relationships, and your quality of life? You'll be happy to know there is an exciting natural solution available called BioT. BioT uses a natural way for men and women to correct these problems by safely and accurately balancing hormone levels without the use of synthetic injections or creams.
I got the treatment and it has been the best decision of my life. I feel great. I'm losing weight. I have more energy. I'm getting stronger in the gym and I can focus so much better. And I notice that I also sleep better and I'm always in a good mood. And I believe it's all because of the BioT treatment.
To schedule an appointment to find out if BioTE is right for you, call 731-462-3596. That's 731-462-3596.
The Rocket is coming to Jackson April 13th, Meridian Baptist Church. Roger Clemens will be the guest at the 4th annual benefit to the Trey Lindsay Scholarship. Roger Clemens has an unprecedented 7 Cy Young Awards, 354 wins, and 4,672 strikeouts. Clemens' career spanned 24 years with the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, and Astros. The 11-time All-Star, winning 2 World Series with the New York Yankees. Silent auction is huge with sports celebrity memorabilia along with hunts, duck calls, vacation packages, restaurant packages, and more. Follow posts on Facebook mentioning items leading up to the event. Call 731-217-7187, 731-217-7187 for table sponsor or ticket information. Brought to you by WorkCare Resources and News Talk 96.5 FM and NewsTalkWTN.com.
King Jewelers is not your typical run-of-the-mill jewelry store. It's an iconic symbol of love. Custom handmade jewelry to suit your taste or melt down your old stuff and create something completely new. Grover has over 35 years as a certified jeweler with While You Wait services that include free jewelry cleaning, fine jewelry, friendly staff, custom designs, quality repairs, and of course, Grover. KingJewelersJackson.com, 16B Conrad Drive, Jackson. Follow King Jewelers Jackson on social media for special savings.
They say consistency is the key to success. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently refreshing and light? Michelob Ultra, only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Central Distributors, Jackson.
Take us with you wherever you go. Download our free apps for Apple and Android. Visit newstalkwtn.com. Then click to download.
Hi, I'm Terica Smith, a local attorney and proud JMCSS graduate, but I'm also a JMCSS parent. We chose Jackson Madison County Schools for educational options that are innovative and challenging. Whether it's the Academic Academy at Northeast or early college and career opportunities at JCM Early College High, JMCSS offers classes and programs that will prepare my son for college and beyond. Plus, JMCSS is a level 5 district and tuition free. It just makes sense.
Hi, I'm Greg Hammond, Chief of Public Information for the Jackson-Madison County School System. With an increased focus in the fine arts, athletics, workforce development, and early career opportunities for students, there's never been a better time to choose us. Tuition-free, Jackson-Madison County Schools. Visit jmcss.org today to schedule a tour or call 731-345-7011.
You know what we could do? I mean, you could tell these are three non-engineers in the studio right now, me included. We could just move that camera, then everything would have been a lot easier. As I'm watching everything happen here, if you're watching online at News Talk 96.5, we're all jamming up together, and I'm looking at that camera. I'm like, oh, that thing swivels. I move it all the time. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
You want me to reach up there and turn it?
Just shake it a little bit.
You just act like your arms are that long that you can just reach.
Look at it. They are that long.
Stretch Armstrong.
Look at that. What does that tattoo say? Born back. Ceaselessly into the past?
Celestial.
Ceaselessly.
Ceaselessly. Well, I couldn't read that. Your forearm's not that big.
It's.
You're so tiny.
You're
like a little twig.
Yeah. Ceaseless. It's the last line of The Great Gatsby.
Oh, that's
cool.
why I didn't know it.
Yeah.
That's why. Did we have to read that in school?
Yeah, but high school kids should not read
The Great Gatsby.
The Great Gatsby.
We didn't read that at JCS.
We
did read Don Quixote. So when you started talking that, I was like, I had flashbacks.
You remembered?
Yes.
We didn't read that at Union, did we? Because I know something about The Great Gatsby, but I don't know how.
Well, it's
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Was it a movie?
Yeah.
The movie was terrible. The book is incredible. I read it every year. It's my favorite.
How many pages?
It's just like 120. It's not
okay. I can definitely, because that's getting real close. I'm more of an article reader. I read things and then I listen to Bob Ney and Tom Scuteri. This comes in our advanced rehab text line. Oh, and I do want to get this out. We've got some information. There's been some windstorms downtown. Like, you remember in Memphis a handful of years ago, they had that Hurricane Elvis? Like, so straight line winds are a real thing, but they've done some damage downtown. Julie, you said at the courthouse?
No, they were saying at the courthouse, but down there, Family Pharmacy downtown by Baker's Brothers, lost like half their roof. In front of the Dodge, there's like a power pole bent over.
We've got one right down the road. Somebody just texted in. Y'all look at this picture.
Right by Dodge and the Travelers Inn.
Yeah, look at this picture right here. That's
the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, right there.
And then, did you know on I-40, it blew a tank off of an 18 cargo truck?
Going to Ukraine?
Well, I don't know where it was going, but it was on I-40. I think they got a while to go.
Wow. That's insane. And then, we've had some of those reports. Jackson State is closed today.
Did you just make a joke? I didn't check.
No, I'm just laughing. I'm laughing at myself because I thought my cranium tank thing was a little funny, but it kind of fell flat. But I will shut up. Don't come back new. Me acting all
I'm not.
cattywampus.
I've missed you.
This says Madison County Sheriff's Office hosting an open house for jail expansion. Yeah, we did talk about that. That's cool. You guys going?
No.
When is it?
But no. It is March 9th. 5 to 8 if you want to check out the new jail.
I'm good. I don't want to check it out ever.
Yeah, that is my hope. But good for them.
So it's just like schools have open houses. They're just going to do an open house at the jail, and they're just like, do they have a cell that's going to be set up? And they're like, here's our model cell.
What was that thing? Like in churches used to do it, Hell House or whatever.
Oh,
Judgment House.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
what
I'm
in now.
Were you?
You were in?
I played Satan. I played the devil.
Oh, well, obviously.
Okay, now you're really going to have some nicknames.
Obviously, you played the devil.
I really did. 3 years in a row.
They were like, Gabe, nobody else could do this as well as you.
No, they were like, you were born to play this role.
That had to make you feel something.
Yeah, that's when Rick and I went to church together.
You said y'all were both deacons.
Yeah,
same time.
Yeah.
I wonder if Rick did. Although I will say this, Gabe asked him one time when he was in here, and Rick did not. He did not recall.
He was like, no, we didn't. No, we didn't.
This comes in and says it's all about Christian nationalism for Chris Todd, Bill Lee, and most Republicans. You have to know this. Bill Lee won't expand Medicaid. This affects more lives detrimentally than the 99% of the people that we have incarcerated.
Absolutely.
But do we have to knock Christians for this bill if you don't agree with it? Because because I wanted to talk to you about this because I disagree. I'm a Christian
and don't agree.
I disagree with your premise, and this is what I hate about this bill because what it's doing now is it's forcing me to pick a camp, and I don't want to pick a camp in this thing because I honestly think that we had a lot of these things were already on the books. I do believe that. Mm-hmm. That's a rational way to look at it. But I also, swear to goodness, believe that you could say, look, we're just not going to have drag shows at public parks. I'm good with that because I would follow it up and say we're not going to have bikini contest at a public park. We're not going to have so I would try to be on the not even on the side, but just I hear the word abused so much now. It's a new catchphrase that I hate. It's called common sense. This is common sense legislation. No, I mean if it's already there, it's redundancy. Okay, it's redundancy if it's already there.
They did that. I'll go down saying this. They did that, and they made this law because they didn't have anything to stand on, and they knew that ACLU could come in and sue the pants off the county. Mm-hmm. That is why I think they did this. But I mean, I'm going to say the truth.
What are your thoughts, Gabe?
Well, I think
I think it's a good point too, Julie, about the ACLU because that definitely would have happened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whenever, and by the way, they're about to sue. They're going to fight this bill tooth and nail on the state.
Absolutely. Because it's very
But at least
targeted.
they're going to sue the state instead of just us.
But I mean, it's targeted. You cannot tell me it's not targeted.
And going back to it is targeted. And I think that goes back to what Chuck said about like trying to, I forgot what you said, Chuck, something about does everybody have to be mad at Christians or?
Well, it pits us against each other, I think, which is unfortunate.
Well, here's why.
Okay.
And I think here's why, because the people who make these laws and push this legislation always attach the faith piece to it. Like they always do. And they do it on those moral grounds.
But that's just as much of a blanket statement as them saying that all drag queens are evil and trying to hurt our children. I mean, I'm a Christian and you can catch me at a drag show. So it doesn't, you know what I'm saying? You can't.
But drag queens aren't making laws. And I think that's the difference.
Well,
but not all Christians are either.
I guarantee you there is a man somewhere in the House or the Senate that puts on women's clothes at night.
Oh, no.
So just because they're not doing a show.
Are you talking about people who like men who like to wear panties? Because that was actually going to
be. Well, that is
we're going to talk
sexual
about that
deviancy.
on Monday. That's our Monday
sexual
show.
Deviancy. I mean, let's get to it. How many times have people been busted in government
all
for
the time.
dressing up as a woman or doing the two-toe tap at the bathroom stall? Like, this is targeting a group, and they did it so they could do something about it being in a park or being in a public place.
And I think what they can do, I think you can draw the line because I'm not religious at all. And I took my
blows me away
headphones off whenever Rick was talking because I don't even speak that language. I can't even argue about the Bible because it doesn't matter. Like we're not making our laws based on the Bible. Like,
but we are. There has been spiritual influence. I will take you to task a little, and which is another.
And the Bible's also a moral compass.
I would say, but not for everybody. I'm smart enough to realize it's not a moral compass for everybody, right? We even have legislators like Ilhan Omar and people like that who are, we have legislators who are not Christian. So I wouldn't say that, but I would say that our country was not founded on, First Corinthians, but it was there were influences in there, and I think we could agree with that.
Well, I think those are universal. You can find those in Buddhism.
Correct.
You can find a lot of that.
A lot of those
even
good
in
tenets. I agree.
Islam, like there are a lot of tenets of every religion, but we just want to pigeonhole Christianity with it. But I think you can draw a line because we are a Western culture, and the Christian religion is very influential in this culture. I think you can draw a line between evangelicals and other Christians, because it does feel like the evangelical wing, that is
a more extreme.
It's more extreme. It's more conservative, and they have hung their from George W. Bush. Since his election, they have run on this compassionate conservatism, which lines right up with
it. Can I stop you on points?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and not being funny, but sometimes you get a point, you need to finish it. But can I stop you on and take this piece by piece? Because I'm curious of this, and I've said this before. I said it earlier this week when Rick had our big back and forth with he and I, but I've had big back and forth with him on my old show as well. And I agree. I think there can be an extremism on the right, but do you agree that can be detrimental for reasonable people? But I think there can be extremism on the left too. Do you see any problems with, and not trying to pitch you against the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, but just getting clarification.
Generalized.
Do you see problems with the extremism on the left, like the heroin tents, things that we would consider extreme here, like the safe needles in the tent set up for drug users and stuff like that in some of the bigger cities out west, cashless bonds, things like that? Do you see the extremism there too being detrimental?
Yeah, I think anytime you get too far to either side, you end up having an issue. Now, tell me about the heroin tents, because I'm not.
Okay, there are things in California, assuming all the information that I've watched is true, but I understand information can get skewed, and there may be some in New York, but I know there's some around San Francisco. And the idea is this: look, our homeless population, a lot of them are drug users. They're using dirty needles. They're spreading HIV, syphilis, like everything you can spread with a dirty needle, but their addiction is so strong. So they have set up tents that are where you can go in. You have access to clean needles. They don't necessarily give you the drugs, but they give you everywhere to do the drugs in a safe environment. But you still can't. So what's happened now? Their homeless population, their drug abuse, like other people from other areas have found out about it, and so now tons of them are going because it's almost like a quasi hotel for drug users. And I know we already have those things now, but this one gives you the needles and stuff like that. Because to me, in my mind, that is it, because I could have told you what had happened. I mean, I saw the story, and then they were like, "We have so many homeless people here now. It's crazy. It's like a tent city. It's it's gotten out of hand. We came up with this good idea, but Lord, it's gone crazy." What are your thoughts on something like that?
Well, I think the spirit of it was probably in the right place.
Sure.
I mean, I really do. Now playing, and so I think to pit that against something, let's just say this legislation has just passed in Tennessee. I don't think ever the spirit of it was in the right place, but. Yeah, that's a poor execution in reality. Right. But have you ever watched The Wire?
Everybody tells me how great it is. I can't get through the first few episodes.
Oh,
I've tried it 4 or 5 times, but I need something new at the gym, so I will try it again. I promise.
Well, you can't watch The Wire while you're working out.
Well, I'm on the treadmill.
Okay.
The treadmill. Yeah, right, I got to have something to distract me. Yeah.
So there's an episode, and it is based on real life events in Baltimore, and Baltimore was corrupt at every level.
Still is, from what I understand. Yeah.
But from the bureaucracy of the local government down to the police force, education system, and each season takes a look at a local bureaucratic institution. So the first 2 seasons focus on the quote unquote drug war between, the police and the gangs. And man, they operate basically the same way. They're just on 2 different sides of it. But in one episode, finally, a police captain of a certain district in Baltimore was like, they're going to do drugs. They're going to do heroin. Let's just give them this bombed out apartment complex, and they're going to use here, and we're not going to arrest them. It was the same idea. And
right.
Of course, it ended up like it did in California, and it was a disaster. But I think in that situation, people are dying left and right, and I think the local government just tried to do something to mitigate that. And it turned out horribly wrong.
Okay.
But yeah, so
you can allow for dangerous thought. And I say you, and I kid you, Gabe, because sometimes you're on here and I'll rib you about, being what did I say that one time? You're the mouthpiece of the Democratic Party. You're like, no, I'm not. They don't want me as their mouthpiece. But I rib Gabe sometimes. But I like being around people that we don't line up ideologically with everything on, right? I can find a lot of white male conservatives in Jackson, Tennessee, right? That's not that hard. You just throw a rock, you hit one or two of them, right? But it's tough to find somebody like you. And so it's interesting to hear your thought process. And I probably fail sometimes, but I try to be really consistent in my thought process. And I was just curious with you too, giving me the litmus test there to see, because extremism on both sides are bad, right? We cannot have that on either side. Is this bill extreme because it is, in your opinion, Gabe, is this bill extreme because it is targeting a group, or is it because it's redundant because there was already laws on the books to stop stripping, be it male or female, at any performance?
I think it's both. I think more than anything else, it was a bill that was made in ignorance, because the person, Representative Todd, this was all born out of what happened in Jackson. Correct. Now, I know that there's been some narratives around the South and conservative circles about drag shows here and there, but this really exploded last fall here.
For the state of Tennessee.
For the state of Tennessee.
Correct. You're right.
And it was clear that he had never been to a drag show.
Well, he said as much on here. Now, he hasn't been on with me yet. I've texted him and tried to get him on here with me. He hasn't been on, but he's been on with Dan a few times. And we're coming right to these calls here. But he has said he's never been to a drag show. He's never seen a drag show. He's only seen the stuff that was like on Fox News and that was sent to him from
YouTube.
Which was
a terrible way.
But in his defense, that's what he saw. First time I saw it.
I get it.
That's not an excuse. If you're an elected official that literally makes laws for the state, like, ignorance can't be an excuse. Like, you've got to do your due diligence and everything. Like, if you are going to make a law that makes something a felony, you better know what the hell you're talking about.
Okay, now the fact that you just said that out loud does make me rethink my position there. Just a little bit. Matter of fact, Julie, hit the dump button. What I just said. Just go ahead and hit up there.
Dump.
Good morning and welcome into Walker Talks.
Yes, Miss Julie.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to the auction tomorrow. What size Stanley were you interested in?
A 30 or 40.
30 to 40 ounce.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to know what size I'm interested in?
Do what, Chuck?
Do you want to know what size I'm interested in?
No, you and Gabe, y'all too yuppity to
use the Stanley Cup.
No common sense to use a Stanley coffee urn. Y'all go to that Starbucks.
I just want to make sure that if you see me right now,
Oh,
I'm drinking
hilarious.
the McDonald's.
You're wasting space in your little town with Starbucks. Nobody but a village idiot would pay $7 for a cup of whipped cream.
What do you drink?
Coffee and ice.
I don't particularly care for Starbucks either. I go to Green Frog because it's not far from my house. That's my favorite brew. What do you do?
Have you ever heard of a coffee maker?
Have I ever heard of Yeah. Her name's Tabitha. She works at Green Frog.
See, you act like you go to Starbucks.
I just told you Green Frog. Why are you being ugly to me?
To get coffee.
Yeah.
See, but y'all don't know what real coffee is because y'all still buy coffee.
You're criticizing my coffee choice. This is what we've come to. Listen to me. If you come in here with a present for Julie and you don't have me as look up here. Look behind my head. What's that say? It says Walker Talks. I better have something up here. Rick, I will have you are the number 2 as my security detail, but Bull is number 1, and you know you don't want to make him upset.
Bottom line is, y'all need to learn how to choose quality coffee beans, buy them whole, ground them before you make your little coffee in your own coffee pot.
In my own coffee pot. You know what? Actually, and I don't. This is something that's my everlasting shame. I actually have Larry Newman go get me coffee every. I mean, he doesn't live around here, but he comes out north every morning, gets me coffee, and brings it to me, then goes back home. So that's how that works. This says, I thought the tank joke was very funny, Chuck. Not everyone can appreciate good humor. This right here, see, this is how.
I know that number.
This is how.
Chuck, that's your number. You sent that.
This right here, this person, this human being.
Him and Chuck have a
You want to get into heaven? You want to get into heaven? You don't have to pass legislation at a state level. You got to send texts like this. Great job. Text of the day. We're not even through the show yet.
Cannot.
Says Carriage House in North Highland are closed due to downed power lines. Yeah, y'all give us any of that information you got.
Good job,
Send
Chris.
in here. 731-800-8398 is our text line. 731-800-8398. 731-265-6496 is our call-in number. This comes in. Says it's interesting that there was a little public discourse and a bill was just passed. The topic was discussed, but not the bill. Was there a consensus among the people against this? And it goes on to say, I can't vote for Todd or Leah again, but nobody else is any good. I'm a Christian who hates this bill. Most gay people aren't molesters and groomers, and most Christians aren't bigots and homophobes.
Amen.
Completely agree.
This comes in and says they can talk about kids all they want, but the way it went down in Jackson was an attack on gays. And if you follow the logic, it's illegal to be gay, and we are on the way to saying gays can't live here, which we've actually been saying for years. This comes in, says, who's going to tell Mayor Scott he can't bring poison to town? And there's a picture of the people from... That's terrible news. I love Every Rose Has Its Thorn. Maybe I shouldn't. Am I gay, Gabe, if I like that song?
Every Rose Has Its Thorn.
That's poison?
Yeah. That's Poison.
Yeah, it's Poison.
Something to Believe In. Highly underrated on that album.
That is a good one, yeah. Something to believe in. This comes in. I feel like they're attacking me again. Says Gabe made a very good point that I make all the time. The right-wing Christian nationalists are making the laws, not the far left. I think it's a false equivalent. That's not true. That's not true. We've had people on the left make all kinds of laws.
Maybe not in Tennessee.
Not in Tennessee,
but in general.
But nationally, yes. And in California and all these other places.
Yeah, but Tennessee is.
It's a very conservative state.
I mean, it's gotten, I don't want to use the word worse, but it's gotten worse and worse as far as the unbalance of it. Like there is no, like it is straight down party lines. Now I will say this, the primary voting bill to close primaries, right? I hate to just like jump around, but that died. That ended up dying. Yes. And that's a big deal because
what was the vote count on that? Do you know?
I don't
was it close,
think it made it out of, I don't think it made it to the floor.
I don't think it did either.
I'm really surprised to hear that. I thought that was a done deal. Like in my head, I thought, oh yeah, they'll get this passed.
But that's encouraging because I think it does show that everybody's not down party lines on everything. You know, and I don't think we need to be down party lines on everything. Like I think Democrats need to step across if it's common sense stuff. I think Republicans need to step across if it's common sense stuff. But it's just been so divisive that it does feel like it's straight down.
You know why it is? And I'm guilty of this. Not anymore. I will say this. Doing this show, doing talk radio for the past few years, but especially doing this show for the past 7 weeks, has made me have to sharpen my knife that had gotten dull because it is so much easier to let someone do the work for you and get it in a tidbit for 30 seconds. That's why I appreciate Bob Ney and Tom Scuteri so much. You guys need to be listening to this program 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday, 10 to 1. But if you have to only pick a segment, it needs to be 10 to 10:30 every day when we have Bob Ney and Tom Scuteri on here because they're two of the most honest newsmen. Bob gives you an opinion that is unbelievable because he was a Republican congressman, went to jail, still has Republican tendencies. But you know, everybody's kind of that way, right? Like ideologically, they're that way. But he'll blow up both sides. He'll tell you the truth of what he thinks is really going on. And then Tom Scuteri, in his geopolitical reporting, he's been a war reporter for 30 years. And one of the most impressive interviews I've ever had is Tom Scuteri. Those guys are great. It's really hard when you have to dig in and really research this stuff because what you will do, and I'm not talking to you, Gabe, or you, Julie. I'm talking to you out there because this was me. Hey, just show me the rest. It's the difference between making a home cooked meal and going to, Louisiana Lagniappe and having them make the Bayou Grouper for you. Okay. But when you do it at home, you learn the process. You see everything that's out there. And that's what's happened, or that's what happens when you do it yourself. You find all these things that make you raise an eyebrow because you're making the home cooked recipe yourself. And you're like, wait a minute. I can't believe this is in this legislation, or I can't believe this is what's trying to get passed because they may throw other stuff in there.
Yeah. And I think that's where mass media has failed us terribly, has failed
or purposefully accomplished what they set out for.
Well, okay. So we're in my English class that I teach at JCM. We are reading Fahrenheit 451.
Mm-hmm.
Have y'all read that? Okay, so
in school, been a long time ago.
It was written in the 50s. Ray Bradbury wrote it, but all of these things that he wrote about it, like they are happening now. Everything in the book is happening now. People don't read. Of course, now I'm not saying we're burning books and we've eliminated all the books. However, the way that we take in our information now is so quick and so fast and so shallow.
Yeah,
there's no nuance. People want to tell us what to think.
And we want that even more.
We want that. And
right.
I don't know how many people watch Fox News, and I'll say the same thing about CNN, MSNBC. But have you seen the deposition and all the files have made public from the suit by the election voting machines to Fox News? And
on Dominion, yeah.
Fox News just being like, hey, we're just making it up.
They said, and they've said things that it should alarm all of us out there. And I watch Fox News, but when Tucker Carlson says, "Look, no reasonable person would believe this," that's not cool.
But that's how people get their information and solidify their belief systems.
It's not good.
No,
guys, we got to catch up on a break. We'll come in right back. We're going to join the top of the hour news already in progress. Get your top of the hour news on. You're listening to Walker Talks. We'll be right back.
In nearby Hurst, Texas, Michael Roberts tells KDFW-TV that the storm tore the ceiling off his apartment.
You can see it coming in. It got really windy, and out of nowhere it hit, and the whole building started shaking.
Wind gusts of more than 70 miles per hour were reported in Texas. Teams from the National Weather Service plan today to survey storm-hit areas. I'm Donna Warder.
On Wall Street, stocks are ticking higher now. The Dow up 245 points. The NASDAQ ahead 151. More on these stories at townhall.com.
We're entering a time of increasing hostility against people of faith, a time when Christians are going to be tested on a moral and physical and financial basis, unlike any other time in our lifetime. I'm Lance Wallnau, Christian author, evangelical leader, here to remind you that you have to take action to protect and steward what God has given you. For example, record high inflation is going to continue to eat away at the dollar, and the savings of your retirement account is in danger. Fortunately, God does provide a way. To protect your retirement, I recommend diversifying your 401k or IRA out of paper and into physical gold. And the best way to do that is with a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. Now, to see how it works, just text the word FAITH to 989898. That'll give you access to a free info kit on gold IRAs. There are no strings attached, so text FAITH, F-A-I-T-H, to 989898 right now, and I pray your family is blessed with peace of mind because you took action.
Authorities in Greece say the number of people killed in that rail disaster still stands at 57. Recovery teams spent a third day scouring the wreckage in Tempe, that's north of Athens. A court in Belarus sentencing Nobel Prize winner Ales Bialiatski to 10 years in prison.
Mr. Bialiatski is the founder of Vyasna, a leading human rights organization in Belarus. His deputy, Valyansyan Stefanovich, was on trial with him. He was jailed for 9 years. And activist Uladzimir Lapkovich was handed a 7-year prison term. They were found guilty of economic crimes and of funding protests. The case against them is widely seen as politically motivated. Vyasna has been monitoring and documenting human rights abuses in Belarus as the country's authoritarian leader, Alexander Lukashenko, has been suppressing dissent and cracking down on civil society.
BBC correspondent Steve Rosenberg. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. She's been praised for her work defending the little guy, but now she's being likened to a terrorist.
Ohio officials are classifying environmental watchdog Aaron Brockovich as a, quote, special interest terrorism threat, end quote, in East Palestine, Ohio. The designation was made by the Ohio Statewide Terrorism and Crime Center Analysis Unit, who issued a warning ahead of Brockovich's visit to the town polluted by a toxic train derailment. According to Yahoo News, former Department of Homeland Security Acting Undersecretary John Cohen said that including Brockovich's name was, quote, problematic, end quote. Tasha Stevens reporting.
At New Mexico State, the once treasured men's basketball program suspended for the season due to a fatal shooting and a gruesome allegation of locker room hazing. No word yet on when the men's program will be back up and running. More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
Vintage doesn't always mean long-lasting. As your home systems age, your repair costs, utility bills, and breakdowns rise. During Hiller's Vintage Showdown, we're giving away a free new system to the owner of the oldest HVAC unit. Submit a picture of your old equipment online to see if you qualify as the winner. Everybody wins with trade-in credits plus 0% financing for up to 48 months with approved credit on select new HVAC systems. Enter to win now at happyhiller.com.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
They say consistency is the key to success. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently refreshing and light? Michelob Ultra, only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Central Distributors, Jackson.
When you need a heart expert, you need an expert with heart. Corbin Cardiology is dedicated to providing the highest quality cardiovascular care in West Tennessee. At Corbin Cardiology, our patient-centered approach, along with a full array of diagnostic imaging services, sets us apart from other cardiovascular clinics. Corbin Cardiology has clinics in Bartlett, Dyersburg, Lexington, and the newest location is now open in Jackson at 58 Murray Guard Drive. To schedule an appointment in office or by telemedicine, visit CorbinCardiology.com
or call 731-513-5701.
Is your office or home office in need of a new printer, copier, fax, or multifunction machine? Do you need business cards, envelopes, or office supplies? Are you looking to upgrade to new office furniture? Office World Incorporated in Trenton has been serving all of the Gibson County and the West Tennessee area for over 65 years. Office World is a franchise partner of OfficeZilla. Call today, 731-855-9131, or email officeworldinc@gmail.com.
My name is Steven and I'm 41 years old. I started having problems with my weight, my focus, my energy all around. I spent thousands of dollars a year on supplements trying to get my weight down, and it never worked.
Are these problems affecting your work, your relationships, and your quality of life? You'll be happy to know there is an exciting natural solution available called BioT. BioT uses a natural way for men and women to correct these problems by safely and accurately balancing hormone levels without the use of synthetic injections or creams.
I got the treatment and it has been the best decision of my life. I feel great. I'm losing weight. I have more energy. I'm getting stronger in the gym and I can focus so much better. And I notice that I also sleep better and I'm always in a good mood. And I believe it's all because of the BioT treatment.
To schedule an appointment to find out if BioTE is right for you, call 731-462-3596. That's 731-462-3596.
I'm just texting him back. I'm just posting a story. I'm just changing the song. I'm just...
Welcome back into Walker Talks on a rainy Friday, but clear skies are on the way. It's going to be a beautiful Saturday at least, so plan accordingly. Interesting discussion during the break. Someone found, we're not going to say who in the studio, found a tweet from Gavin Newsom, the governor of California.
I don't even like Gavin Newsom.
No one said it was you.
It was me.
No one said it was you. People would have never put that together. They would have never put that together. And unless they were watching online and saw Julie flip you off. Now, other than that
I don't think I actually did that. Did I flip
But
you
the
off?
fact that you're questioning it makes me think that you thought it.
There's a possibility that I flip people off. I mean,
it's a little wild. We're going to get a studio audience. That's all we need, some more people in here to get a studio audience. They can watch live. I've noticed that Sean Hannity has a studio audience now on his show. Have you seen that, Gabe?
No. I
have you not seen he has a studio audience? This comes in our advanced rehab text line, 731-800-8398, 731-800-8398. Our advanced rehab text line says, it is interesting, and I think I read this, but I want to read it again because I thought it was interesting. It says, it is interesting, there's a little public discourse, and a bill was passed. The topic was discussed, but not the bill. Was there a consensus among the people against this? So let's break that down. To me, living in Jackson, doing a talk radio show, I felt like this was much more than a little public discourse as far as Madison County is considered. I thought it was, I didn't like it. I thought it was dangerous for our county, just the stuff that was being said and on, potentially what could happen. I thought that this was a scary time for our county, because it's one thing talking about Gavin Newsom in California, right? Because we never go there. May catch a Padres game the next couple of years because they're so good. But other than that, I'm not going to California for anything, right? So what's it really matter what I say? But when I see these people every single day and we're at odds with each other, I don't like that, because a community that is not harmonious, that's kind of what we do in Jackson. Jackson's growing. It's got a chance to grow a lot more, but it still is kind of, a small community where everyone knows each other and we feel safe here. I don't like that part. What are your thoughts? Did you guys feel like this was more than just a little discourse when this first happened?
Yeah, I thought it was more than a little discourse, but I also thought that the majority of people in Madison County didn't care if there was a drag show.
I don't think it matters about the majority. I think it matters about the loudest.
Well, and so I do think it matters about the number, because I think it goes back to what Chuck was saying. Like, I wasn't super concerned about any kind of like disharmony overall. This was going to fracture the county, because I thought for the most part, people, if they want to have a drag show, have a drag show. If I don't want to take my kids, I'm not going to take my kids. Not a big deal.
And maybe some of my scope or my lens of looking through it was because I do talk radio. And so right. I was able, I was hearing the people that were excited enough, because we know 95% of you out there listening never call in, never text in. You just kind of listen, and we appreciate you. Obviously, we do. We love it. We'd love for you to call in. We'd love for you to text, but we understand you don't. But the people that were really, really on both sides heated, and that was alarming.
Yeah. Well, I think I think it's an issue that should be heated. Like, I don't think it's an issue that's like that people shouldn't be passionate about. I mean, because again, I think it's targeting a specific group of people that for a long, long, long time, for the majority of history, at least, in America, haven't been treated well. They haven't been treated equally. So, it's hard not to be passionate about something like that if you feel like you're being targeted.
Is this okay? So who's being targeted? Are gay people being targeted? Are drag queens being targeted? Because I hear that, but I've known gay people, homosexual people. I'm 42. I have known them all of my life. Like, as far as going to high school with, and I went to school in Crockett County, and a lot of people didn't talk about that there, right? That was one of those things, but you kind of knew, and they kind of knew, and then you found out, you're like, oh yeah, of course. And it was it was just one of those things. So who's being targeted here? Because this is talking about drag shows, or do you feel like it's targeting homosexuality?
I don't think it is directly targeting homosexuality, because they just can't come out and say that. I think there's an undercurrent of a push against that by doing this with the drag shows. I also think that the homosexual community is very diverse also. I'm sure you have people who love going to drag shows that are in same-sex relationships, and maybe other people who don't,
right,
who could take it or leave it.
Right.
So I don't want to obviously lump everybody into one category on that side. But I do think there was a feeling of being targeted by that community, and that maybe because the drag show was connected to Pride Fest, and so people just joined those two together and felt like Pride Fest itself was being attacked. So, and I think that's a fair argument, like, because it's not like, this goes back to the word equity. It's not like the homosexual community has enjoyed the same rights and the same privileges as the heterosexual community.
What rights, in your opinion, what rights would a homosexual be excluded from because of their sexual orientation?
Well, up until 2014, marriage. Okay. Which is a pretty big one.
Right. That's
also
right.
Being allowed in the room when their partner is dying because they weren't married, benefits, like everything that goes along with.
So for the past 9 years, though, it's gotten better with that, right? I don't know, 9 years is not 100 years. No.
Hold on, my microphone's falling. No, 9 years compared to like the whole
since the course
history
of
our country.
Right.
No, but not even since the course of man, because there were cultures who were like totally fine with that. And,
about the Greeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Sort of where we founded our whole idea of democracy. Like that culture, they're pretty okay with
it. Yes, I hear you. But if we're taking this issue and say, okay, this is targeting who? I want to know who we feel like it's targeting, or who they're saying. Is it just all gay people? Is it just people who do drag shows? Is it, inviting, saying it could be kid friendly? Because we have a text that came in on my personal phone, and I thought this was interesting. I've never thought about it, but I know it's true. It says children are allowed to attend Nazi rallies in Tennessee. Surely we're going to get legislation to stop that too.
You would think.
Well, we are, right?
No.
Why wouldn't we?
This is rhetorical. You're asking this.
No, I'm serious. If we're all in, we're all in. We got to be all in.
Man, that's a voter base for the people who are pushing this that they're not going to touch. Okay, like we'll sit back and wait, and we'll ask Chris Todd to push that legislation through next time and see if he does it.
The children can't go to Nazi rallies. How could any of us not think that it would be a good legislative act?
If he introduces that bill in the next session, I will write the most glowing editorial about him because he is doing something that would protect children. So let's just,
wait and see. I think it's an interesting concept because I don't know that it could not happen. I don't, because we've opened this Pandora's box up now and we've said the words, protect the children, common sense legislation. There's lots of things that are out there that we know for sure hurt kids. So I'm wondering if we'll address those too, because if we do, then I don't have to agree with everything, but I can at least I can appreciate the consistency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
we agree. We say we find an agreement. Well, I'm going to get Representative Todd on the program. He's been invited. I'm just going to keep inviting him until he comes. I'm sure he's been busy as of late. And I've only texted him a couple of weeks ago, so I'm sure he'll get back to me. But I do want to hear about that because, and I would be the same way with if they, I don't know, what's the Hispanic gang that they have out there that's taken over California so much?
MS-13.
MS-13, yeah. They're actually really organized by the cartel. They're actually hurting the Crips and the Bloods and stuff. I watched a really interesting documentary on that about how because of the criminal organization now, that's become a thing. I wouldn't want kids going to an MS-13 rally or a biker. Like, I think we could say, okay, there's lots of these things that now that we've, shown the ability to get this legislation passed that we should do that would limit exposure to children from this kind of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm going to ask him specifically. I'm going to ask him. We're having a little bit of trouble with our text line. If you sent one over, it'll come in a second. Internet's still being wonky. We did get this report that power lines are leaning near the four-way stop on Mifflin Road. And then JP has a fence down and is missing a trampoline. I mean, how hard is it to find a trampoline? It's got to be in your neighbor's yard, right? It's trampolines catch wind. Have you ever seen that? Like flipping over? There's one in Medina the other day. I was picking Knox up, and it was almost in the road. I was like, wow. But yeah, it can't be too far. This says no compromise is a direct result from the two-party system. Winner-take-all politics and an uninformed electorate.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, and it goes back to what we were talking about over the break. The way that we receive our information now is through short video clips or audio clips with no nuance. And so we just essentially accept what we see and what we hear.
And you know what? Maybe we do need the government making decisions for us then. Because if we can't do more research to get our news and to form our opinion off of anything better than a headline that's on social media, if we can't do that work ourselves, maybe we do need a government that does it for us. Because if we can't dig deep enough to have the responsibility of freedom, I talk about it all the time. Freedom is not do whatever you want, whatever feels good. That's not freedom. That's abandoned recklessness. Freedom is having the responsibility. It's a huge responsibility, right? To protect your way of life, to the way you live, to take care of those around you. I mean, freedom is a whole lot of things. To do the research on yourself, I would say that's part of your freedom, to make sure that when we do vote, the way our system is set up, when we do vote, we make sure that we're doing things that give us more freedom and don't allow less freedom, which I think over the past 100 years, we can see how our freedoms have been chipped away by both parties equally.
But I think, too, what ends up happening, and it seems like this is going on in Tennessee and probably other states as well, when Chris Todd got elected and reelected, and maybe this may not apply to this most recent election because the drag show thing was out there then, But when he was first elected in 2018, I believe, like nobody elected him to ban drag shows. Like nobody did.
It wasn't even a thing.
That
people
wasn't
knew
even
about.
a thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's my point. What ends up happening is you have these people already in office. So no matter how much research you did, you had no way to predict that this was coming down the pipe unless you knew Chris Todd on a personal level. And so the way that these elected officials who are supposed to represent the majority of people who vote for him, they get caught up in these political winds wherever they are too, and then they just start introducing legislation, or they start talking to their counterparts, and things just keep getting pushed and pushed and pushed further to one side or the other, whoever's in power. And so I think and then by the time he comes around for re-election again in, I don't know if it's 2 years or 4, we're going to have forgotten about this.
Right.
Do you think so, though? Don't you think the ACLU is going to come back? They're going to file a lawsuit. It's going to stay in the headlines. It's going to be something that's going to be just
because
ingrained in
Tennessee's
people's
the
brain.
first. We're the first to do it. So that we may have some. We're going to be the reference point for lots of states.
We are, but I think with the way our brains can't focus on one thing because it's just constantly being thrown at us.
The news cycle changes.
We're just going to jump to the next thing, whatever the next, and we don't even know in 2 years, we don't even know what the next drag show thing is going to be, right? It's not going to be a drag show. It's going to be something else.
I think for the next few months we are, because we have people running for mayor based off of, well, who knows why, but one of the reasons that we have certain people running for mayor is because of the drag show.
Right.
That happened here. Well, regardless, it's still, but that's a big thing.
It is.
Because being the mayor, we have a weak council, strong mayor at the city level, and then at the county level, we have a weak mayor, strong commission. And so if you live in the city of Jackson, that's a very big deal. We need to make sure we're informed, make sure we're doing all the right things. We'll say good afternoon and welcome in.
All right, Chuck. How's it going?
Hey, buddy.
Good today.
Try to stay on topic today, okay? We can't do any of the weed stuff.
You're definitely talking along my train of thought now, because you're talking about community development. I think I sent a text about something from the United Nations back in 2003, the Universal Declaration of Interdependence. This is because, see, that's so simple, man. We're all interdependent cogwheels here. The culprit for the corruption is, well, I'm not going to point fingers, but the media reports the illusion more than the mercy of the truth. That's all I want to say about that.
All right, buddy. You appreciate it. You said it well. Thank you so much, Josh. Yep, I just had to. All right, see, now I've forgotten. That's why I need to write things down. These other bills that were passed, too, and these are things I can't agree wholeheartedly with. And I had the article pulled up here. It says, Tennessee governor, this is on the Jackson Sun. Usually we go from the Jackson Post, but this is a national story here from the Tennessean. It says Governor Bill Lee Thursday signed into law a total ban on gender-affirming health care for transgender children, despite calls for him to veto the bill and threats of incoming legislation. Lee also signed off on the new law to prohibit adult-oriented entertainment, including male and female impersonators, from public property and limit it to age-restricted venues. The legislation, filed after a flurry of drag show controversies in Tennessee, is not a total ban of drag, though opponents worry it could open the door to wider legal battles over the performance art. The new health care bans medications such as puberty blockers and hormone treatments to treat any underlying gender dysphoria cause affecting Tennessee children who identify as transgender or non-binary. Surgeries, which were rare in Tennessee, are also banned. Children who currently take the medications will have until March 31st, 2024, so next year, all right, to cycle off of treatment. The law, which was fast-tracked by the legislature's Republican supermajority in this year's legislative session, will officially go into effect this summer. And then it says the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, plans to sue over this bill. So we can't agree on this either?
No, and this. So the last time I was in here, we did find some common ground because I think I was misinformed on what the actual bill included.
Okay.
So the surgeries, right? I think we both sort of came to a consensus on that. Like,
Right.
yeah, we
don't need augmentation of heterosexual. Like, we don't need 15-year-old girls getting breast enlargements. We don't need 15-year-old boys getting penis enlargements. Like, none of those things should exist.
And
I don't even know if the penis enlargement's a thing. Someone Google that for me. Go ahead.
Julie's got it.
Got it.
So I think I use the example, like, I'm not even letting my daughter get a tattoo before she's 18, right? And I've got tattoos all over me. But it's something about she's not in a place, she's going to get something really awful.
Yeah.
And, and I got something.
She's going to get barbed wire.
Right. And I've got a cross on my shoulder I got when I was 23. I don't want this on me right now, but, I hadn't.
Such is life.
Had it, like, covered up yet. So, but the point is, like, I just don't want her because she's too young. So I think that we all came to a consensual agreement on that part of it, the surgery aspect of that. Now, the hormone blockers, that's a big deal because if you are going to transition, those are necessary to take during puberty, right? Like, I don't think those work as well once you are beyond, once you are past that.
They do.
They do.
Yes. So you can literally start your transition at 18 and be transitioned before 20.
Okay. With the hormone. So what is
when I say start transition, I mean start your hormone blockers.
Right.
So like start there. So you basically they either are reversing a lot more or not. If it's done like prior to puberty, right in the puberty time, it's going to be a little less invasive.
Right.
But I mean, most kids now are hitting puberty so much earlier than we did 20, 30 years ago. So, I mean, can you really say an 11-year-old can make 11. That choice?
His voice squeaked yesterday.
I mean, my 9-year-old just texted me and said she broke her knee because my 2-year-old hit her in the knee with a book.
Yeah, no.
Like, at that age, they're not, and some people are starting puberty and getting their periods and stuff like that at 9 now. It's the growth hormones in our food. Like,
well, I don't think kids are making the decision. I think this is where I do have.
But that's it. The kids aren't making the decisions.
The parents are, and I do think now. Again, the surgery thing. I think, and I hesitate to say like I'm in agreement with this because I don't know what it's like to have a kid who may be struggling with that. But the hormone blockers, those are things that you can take, and then if something changes, then you can stop.
But why?
Why what?
I don't think
why. Like why would that be necessary?
But why would it be outlawed?
Okay, let me tell you why. Because children can't vote. They can't. I understand they may really want it. They may feel this way. When I was 16, I really wanted to drink. Now, I found illegal ways to do that in fields, like every other 16-year-old boy in Crockett County and things like that. I mean, it wasn't right.
Yeah.
But it happened. But there were things so if you ask me what I really wanted and how I really felt, I wanted to go to a field party, have a bonfire, meet a hottie, and drink, right? Like those were my wants. And to me, that felt so real because a lot of my life was predicated on that emotion, that micro focus that we all have in our adolescence as children.
Right.
And into our 20s and some of us into our 42nd year. But we all have those thoughts, but my mom, she wasn't cool with that. She wasn't like, yeah, let's go out and get... No, anytime that would happen, she'd be really upset with me, okay? I'd be in trouble. And so I get that you could say, look, they feel this. And because I had big feelings too. I thought I was going to marry a girl named Ashley, for sure. I was going to marry Ashley. She came from a affluent family in Crockett County. It's like, I'm finally going to quit being white trash. And we're going to live here. We're going to raise kids in Bells forever. I'm going to be all this stuff. And I felt strongly about that. But none of that happened, and everything's okay.
But there is
coming right to these phone calls.
There is a ton. If you're willing to go down the black hole on TikTok, if you search videos of people detransitioning, there are a lot of people who it was so in their face and it was such a big covered thing,
almost cliche now,
that they were like, "Well, I want to do that." Like they could convince themselves that they related to this other person who did that. And then now they're like, we have made a massive choice. And it wasn't based off of all of it being spiritual or religious. It was just like, I jumped to something because I felt like everybody else was, or I could relate at that moment in time. And now I don't. And I've messed up my body. And now I've done this. I think that who we are at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 changes
Morphs,
constantly,
evolves.
and then who we are in our 20s and 25 and 30 changes. So that is you are really playing with your body.
Here's where I will push back on all of that.
Sure.
I feel like that the arguments that were just made, it makes it sound like these hormone blockers are readily available. You just need an ID to go to the grocery store and get them.
Right.
You can go to the doctor and get them easily.
Well, that's my point. It's not like this is something that a 13-year-old is going to be like, you know what, I'm just going to go down to the walk-in clinic and get me some hormone blockers today. Like these conversations are had.
And you've got to do therapy for it.
Parents, therapists, medical professionals. There are these bumpers that are in place all the way through the process. And here's my problem with legislators, because I've seen how legislators will legislate public education policy without having
a clue,
a damn clue.
I know. You're right about that. You're right.
They are doing the same thing with this. Medical professionals, and probably on both sides, right? They probably had witnesses in these subcommittee hearings and everything like that, came out and said, if you completely outlaw this is a bad idea. Now, it's not for everybody. In fact, it's probably for a very small percentage of people, but to take away a blanket option, just put a blanket over all.
But hold on.
But we taken away children's ability to drink.
Have either one of y'all, honestly, had a relationship, a very close-knit relationship with anyone who has had a true all-the-way transition?
No, not all the way. No.
Okay, I have. Still have that relationship. Me and this person have talked about this in great lengths.
Not to cut you off. When you say you mean like surgery?
All the way.
Okay.
Completely different gender. Driver's license says it. I mean, all the way. Name change, everything. All the way. They thought they were someone else at 16 and they had a different view of how it was going to go. They tried to live that way for a little bit. Then by 18, they knew that what they thought they were going to do at 16 was a terrible idea. By 18, they started the path and they had been in therapy the whole time. But you can find a therapist to say whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And you can find a doctor to do whatever you want to do.
Amen.
So by 18, they realized, okay, that was the wrong path. I was stupid. And now they're in their 20s and they've completely transitioned and they are living their best life and they are happy. That is why I can sit here and say there's no reason that someone that young, and I have been with friends who have started transitioning and then went back. Started, went back. And I know one person, a really good friend, they've done it about 5 times and they're in their 30s now, but never went the full way. Children are too young to make those choices for themselves. And if somebody is hell-bent on doing it, they can find somebody to do it. So let's just say you can't do it till you're 18. You can't smoke, you can't vote, you can't drink. Let's not change who we are. Let's not mess with, and these hormone blockers, there are a lot of side effects and things that go on later that are hard to deal with. Don't sign up for that unless you are 110% sure.
So I do think, and this is where I think some of my nuance is going to come in. I think all of us talking about this. Now Julie, you said you knew someone personally close. Like, I don't know anybody. I have a friend who has a child who they want to go by a different gender than the gender in which they were born. I have a few friends like that. And I know the struggle of those parents who are trying to navigate those things right now. And it's hard. But like, I feel weird talking about this. And I really want to have people who have experienced it, who've experienced what that is like as a child, who are now adults. Like, I want them to have a voice.
Okay. So let me boil this down a different way.
The closest one you're going to get is through me, because you could probably ask me any question, like right in this moment, and I can tell you what their answer is.
But even then, that's an isolated person. But let's look at a general. But okay, so let's talk about something that we do know. I was really big and still am, but especially with my oldest son, we did travel baseball all over the place. Southeast, Northeast, out West, every weekend. I spent way too much money I didn't even have doing that with him. He loved it. You meet a lot of different kids doing stuff like that. You meet a lot of different parents from all over the country. You meet a lot of different people doing things like that. I knew people who at 14 had elective surgery on their sons to get Tommy John. They didn't need it. It was elective surgery. They came back, and by the time they were juniors, they threw quicker. They threw even better because now the technology is there where you can actually take some stuff. And any pitcher in travel sports or even in rec sports, but especially travel sports, they're going to have, my son's had 2 big labrum surgeries. He's completely torn his labrum twice. There could have been some elective stuff I could have done to do, but I was not going to do that. I know that there are some parents, and I'm sure there are parents who did let their kids get on HGH and things like that to give them a higher opportunity to play collegiately. To them, that was their that was their reasoning for doing all of this stuff. So I know those things happen every single day. And you're right. I can't comment on. I've always felt like I'm a boy, right? I've always been attracted to girls. I'm not one of these who thinks, and we're coming right to these calls here, just hold. I'm not one of these who thinks that, that you can be around enough gay people and then all of a sudden you're tricked into being gay, right? I think you're born that way.
Right.
But conversely, Gabe, to your point, like an emotion, a feeling, like to these kids, like you'd ask my son, if I'd have let him start making decisions at 14 years old, that what could have affected his body, but he was convinced, okay, I want to do this, but this will help me further my athletic career, he would say, well, to be damned with the future, let's do it right now. This is what I want. And he would have believed that with every fiber of his being. And I say it all the time, truth is perception. It's what you believe. That's truth, right? So he would have believed that, but there's no way in the world I would have let him do it, because looking back now, he's 20. And in, the next 10, 12 years, he's going to get married. He's going to have kids. He doesn't want to do anything that could change, his because again, and not just his path, but also hormonally making these changes. What, could there have any health detriments on the back end of this? I think it's just such, because when we just say, okay, well, this is just about transitioning from a boy to a girl. Well, there's lots of people with lots of big feelings out there, and they're just as important to them. They may be different than sexuality.
Yeah, I think that is different. I really do. And the reason I say I think it is because I don't know. That's why I want to hear from somebody who started having these feelings maybe since the earliest memory, and is a 30-something-year-old person now who has transitioned, and what that was like for them when they were teenagers.
It's a great question.
That is my concern. That's what I want to hear.
Good afternoon and welcome in.
Is that you?
Yeah, let's hear. What's up, buddy?
I can make a few comments. I don't watch football.
You've called the wrong show, because we're actually breaking down the draft in a couple of months. But go ahead.
The way that football controls the Braves of Vegas. But anyway, have y'all noticed where they're showing if males of the mammals drink Coca-Cola or Pepsi, they produce more testosterone and they have larger organs and stuff?
No. Is that true? Because I'll go get a 12-pack.
It's true. And so a while ago she said there's hormones in the food. Well, it can just be sugar and fat. The reason the little girls start maturing quicker is because they're fat. And it used to be.
Well, no. We had that conversation the other day. That's not true. That's not true. I had my stepdaughter was a competitive cheerleader, and she was cheered with other little girls here, and they were thin. There was some little girl that was like, they were throwing her all up in the air. She wasn't fat at all, and she started to, what do you call that in females when they go through the change? Like, when they start having like
your period.
Well, I mean, I guess your period, but then also like you're 11 years old, you don't look like you should have breast and backsides, and is it puberty? Yeah. But she wasn't that obese at all.
Usually when I call in and tell y'all something, I say look it up, and somebody looks it up, and I don't call in with lies.
Oh, no. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying that there's more than just being fat. These aren't just like morbidly obese kids doing this. I think there's other reasons, additional reasons coming into play. Now, I've never questioned your validity. You know better than that.
The skin and bone girls are later on reaching that maturity than the girls that are thick.
Yeah.
And today in America, we're drinking Coca-Cola and Twinkies, which is a fantastically high amount of calories that people didn't experience in the 1700s. Unless you live by a beehive and was eating honey, it would be hard to get that kind of calories in. But that's what makes you able to reproduce quick. And then plastic, we absorb a lot of plastic, and the plastic makes the hormones. It's not, you'll go broke putting hormones in a cow because drugs are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that our cows and pigs are so much better than they used to be is through CRISPR. I told y'all about CRISPR 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Did y'all look up CRISPR?
I did not. No, I'm busy. I did not do that. I apologize.
CRISPR is when you genetically alter the genome of whatever organism that you're trying to make better. You can even do it with humans. You can make humans. You can add DNA to humans to where they don't get sick with AIDS.
Mm.
You give them the CCR5 delta 32 gene, they won't. They'll be able to withstand AIDS, smallpox, and other diseases. It changes their immune system.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's cheaper. It's cheaper to change the organism that you're selling than to give it drugs all the time. And to give it just I know our bodybuilders are taking drugs, but they haven't been genetically altered yet. But, you can do that.
Right. Okay. What else for you, Bull?
Oh, the other thing, you can look up the DS. I think the abbreviation is DSPC. It's brain structure. The T stands for testosterone. I forget what the C stands for. But that's a brain structure that we all have, and that's what makes you identify as a male or a female. You can look that up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a lot of testosterone, but you have a bad DSPC brain structure in your brain, you may still feel like you're a female, even though you look like a guy.
Right.
And then you can be a woman and have too large of one, and you will feel like a guy, even though you're a girl. You have to. It's that thing they say. It's a feeling. I understand the feeling thing. I've always felt like a guy, And
mm-hmm.
I guess girls. But it's like every time I see a thing with the lesbians and stuff, it's usually two unattractive females that can't get a guy no way.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. Well, again, there's a whole other side of the internet you haven't found yet, Bull. You keep doing your research. This comes in. It says, I've seen the KKK and working class blacks in Demopolis, is that right, Alabama, in the early 2000s join up and have the governor of Alabama reinstate health care and social services for children. Really? I did not know about that. This says, how long does it take to get pensions from being in the state legislator? Anybody know?
I have no idea.
Do they get like, they don't get like federal pensions,
so.
Surely. Because otherwise I'm going to run. Just to get the healthcare benefits alone. Lifetime healthcare, yeah.
One thing that Representative Todd and I do agree on, he is a big term limit guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so am I.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that he is a term limit guy, because maybe that means his time is coming to an end if he's going to practice what he preaches. But yeah, I do think there obviously should be term limits on.
Everybody should think that, because we can all say the words, I don't want children hurt. Well, without a doubt, 100% of us should agree on that. Doesn't mean, but we should. 100% of people, you can say words like, I want to keep corruption out of government. Well, the best way that I could know of with that, one of the most helpful would be term limits.
Right.
You don't need to be in government 30, 40 years.
No.
In the job, in any job. Not locally, not at a state level, and not at a national level. There's no reason for that. Not one time, not ever. Not one time. Not one example of that working for the taxpayers' benefit. This says the science about gender affirming care for transgender kid debunks what Julie just said. We need to listen to scientists, doctors, and psychologists. Don't you think that would be wiser? See, I don't. Now that right there are some things I could say. I could say, okay, there's some redundancy in this drag show bill, so that may lead itself to, going after a specific group. So I could see how a group, but this right here, to me, unless there's something and I understand kids go through different things. I get it. I have a cousin. She lives in Owensboro, Kentucky. Every year we used to go to Madisonville, Kentucky to my grandma's house for Thanksgiving, right? That was the big thing. All the family come in, like 35 people. I can remember when she was little. I have another cousin and she married a guy, and he's very, very conservative and religious, and he has a daughter just a year or two younger. And I can remember he would never let I'm talking about 7 and 8 years old, would never let his daughter sleep in the same bed with her because everyone kind of knew she was gay. She was very boyish, wore boy clothes. You just tell she was like a little boy. She didn't know, she had no idea of sexuality or anything else, but he didn't want his daughter to sleep in the same bed. He was fine with them playing together, but that was like where he drew the line for himself. Well, then she was like 18, 19. She finally comes out to the family and everyone's like, oh yeah, you know, we knew, right? We get it. But so she was 7 years old. This was before any hormones. So I get how she may have felt like she was a boy, but still, I just don't know how we can make such life altering. I also don't understand parents who get their kids rhinoplasty unless they were in an accident or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. I had a very big nose. I still do. I don't like to brag, but it's large. Yeah, it's large. People used to make fun of my nose, right? Now, we were poor. It was never an option, but even if it were an option, I would hope my parents would not let me get nose surgery, like at 14, because someone picked it. Like I think there's just some things that we have to go through.
Yes, I do. And again, like I feel so unqualified talking about this.
Right.
And that's also why I'm so hesitant that there is a law or a bill out there that blankets all of it. Like, that's where I think that's where I want to pump the brakes because I don't feel qualified enough to speak about this because I know that I do feel like whatever children are going through in their minds as far as what gender they feel there are goes far beyond like, and I understand the point you're trying to make, but goes beyond like an aesthetic surface idea, flaw that we think we have, everybody has.
Other than the response mental health, is there, and Julie, you may or may not know, because somebody's done this, is there a medical benefit? Like, would these puberty blockers ever be used for, I don't want life-saving, maybe too dramatic, but would they ever be used for, or is it just a mental health benefit for these
So really,
youth?
Those blockers aren't doing anything for your mental health. It's slowing down. It slows down your estrogen and your testosterone and all of that. So you can make the movement over. I can't see it being something that would be life-saving. I think it just helps begin the transition easier.
And it doesn't, to be clear, it doesn't directly affect your mental health.
No, not at all.
No. But I'm just saying, if you were,
the process might make you feel better.
Absolutely.
Okay. If you were,
but it's not like Lexapro or giving extra serotonin.
And I may have said that wrong.
No, I got where you were going.
I was just saying, like, you don't want your breast, if you're a girl, maybe your breast to get large. See those things happen when you feel like a boy.
I can remember being in high school, and there was a girl that she's still one of my friends. I love her, but she wanted bigger boobs.
Mm-hmm.
And her mom would not do anything, so she called on a 1-800 number on a late night infomercial, and it was that, what was it called, like Blusant or Blusum or something?
Some pills you could take?
She got them, had them shipped somewhere, and was taking them, and ended up getting really sick off of them, and had to come up and tell the truth. And she didn't grow, but she spent some money.
This is what makes me cautious about children making these decisions.
Yeah.
That makes me a little cautious about these kids making these decisions.
But at the end of the day, people who truly feel that way, and they're born with something that makes them feel that way. You cannot tell me that. I've got one person who's very close to me that's done it all the way, and I have multiple people who are close to me that have not gone all the way for the reason that they can't do the last gender affirming surgery, and they are in their 30s and 40s. So if they can't,
why can't they do it?
But they can't.
They can't take that step.
They can't. They can't commit. But they've lived their life as that other gender. The majority of it, they started dressing as that gender in high school. They've lived that way. They have taken some injections and some hormone blockers, but when it comes to the very last step, they can't do it.
See, I would love to hear. I would love to hear what they have to say about this bill, particularly one way or the other.
They're supportive of it.
But the hormone blocker part of it too. Okay.
And because I've asked, because I feel like what you and
who better
me,
to ask? Yeah.
What you and me, we've never gone through that. I mean, I got made fun of in school for my nose, but it was because it was so little. My mom was not going to get me a nose implant. It just...
Is that a thing?
I mean, I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
We got a lot of implant research
I've
to look
never
up.
lived and walked that path, but these people have. And they're the ones that I feel like have the most knowledge. And so we've talked about it.
And
what's
I don't
oddly, strangely enough, one of them is 100% in support of you cannot be 18, you cannot be under 18 to go into the drag show.
Right.
I mean, it's just weird. That whole population is diverse. They all have different opinions. Maybe they need to be the ones only voting for it.
Can't, because then here comes the next group, right? The next
I know,
marginalized group.
It's hard.
It's never to be.
It's a hard thing to really sort out.
But I don't know how we can limit our children from doing some things, from even a movie, from an 18-year-old. Because if I owned a movie theater, I understand it happens every day. I bought them when I was a kid. You're not supposed to let people under 18 come into an R-rated movie. You're not supposed to. Same thing, alcohol. You know how much money these convenience stores could make if they could legally sell alcohol to children?
Do you know how much money I spent under the age of 18 running a cigarette store out of the back of my Jeep at the private school? And I wasn't 18 and buying them. Mm-hmm. And I mean, let alone the nights of Smirnoff 40s. I mean,
But that happens. And that doesn't make it legal. But I guess my question is, it's such a big, big step that we don't allow people to take. Like we don't in any other walk of life. But we're saying this because we feel this way but adolescents, Gabe, you work with them all the time. You're a teacher. Adolescents feel lots of ways. Yeah. How many kids do you know who are, 14, 15, and they are in love, Gabe? They're going to be with this person forever. They're going to marry them. They're going to have babies. They're going to be, they're going to be
gross.
It's weird. Not as so. Here's what's
but back
different.
in the day, that used to be
back in the day that used to be a thing, but it's not like that anymore.
No,
it does. It's kids are not as exclusive with and they're not even
swingers
into. That's
here we go.
They're not really even into that dating scene nearly as much as they were even 15 years ago.
It's because they have options now.
Sure.
They got Tinder. They got, they got things like that. These kids have options.
Well, I don't even think you're supposed to be on Tinder if you're not 18.
I don't think they're on Tinder.
But what if you really want to meet a girl?
But I bet
should
they
Tinder?
are.
What if you're like, I feel so strongly compelled that I want to meet a woman. Should I let my kid on Tinder? I know I'm muddying the waters a little bit, probably,
yeah,
but
these are apples and oranges. I really think this is an identity issue. It's not a want issue.
Yeah,
and
but here's the thing: every 18-year-old has identity issues.
Sure, they do.
I didn't have an identity issue.
Yeah, you did.
Well, then you're the one.
Did you know what you wanted to do your entire life when you were 18? Did you make the best decisions for yourself?
Okay, let me back up. Yes, all right, I stand corrected.
Because you had a huge identity issue based off of the person you are now.
Well. Yes. And that's what's weird. And so if I had, so I think this can actually support my argument.
All right.
If it wasn't going to support it, were you going to tell it?
No, I just feel, because I actually was thinking really quickly about what you said. And I'm like, well, maybe they're right. I'm like, well, but if I had the freedom, if I felt that I had the option to be who I was in that environment I was in, who I am's always been there. I didn't feel like I had the freedom to exercise that option. I didn't, because it was I don't want to offend anybody who's a churchgoer. The church that I went to and how intense that stuff was, that youth group, it was a cult. It was a cultish way of thinking. So I wasn't like a casual person that went to a youth group on Wednesday nights and went and drank at a house party on Friday.
Right.
I was in it.
But at one point you were in it so hard you actually kind of bought into it. Did you not?
Yes, because that was my environment. That wasn't me.
But what if
that was such an authority. That was such a heavy hand on me.
But what if somebody was raised in such a very extremely liberal home and that's what they were raised in and they bought into it? And so then they started it because they felt pressured and like they didn't have a freedom, because those do exist. Those homes do exist.
Comparatively speaking, there is no way in the world that in this area those things are equal.
When we get off air, I got something that I think you will know and you'll be like, okay, I can see that.
Well, that's going to excite everybody out there, Julie. I'm going to tell Gabe one thing that none of you can understand.
The number of liberal families who would push their child to transition doesn't compare to the number of religious families who are going to push their kids to go to church. Like that. Like,
well,
there's
there's a massive difference in going to church versus changing your body, taking hormone blockers,
the idea,
transitioning and surgery. I mean, there's a lot of difference there.
I think
too.
what Julie's trying to do is make a larger idea of environmental influence, right? And what you're around and what you're, same way you're influenced with your environment. I was influenced with, like, we were all influenced with our environments, right? We can agree on that, right? That's like, let's protect kids. Let's get, corruption out of politics, and we are influenced by our environments. Those are three things everybody should know or believe in. Okay. There can be, and this is what scares me about what's going on nationally, because I think by and large, all of this is such a non-starter. This is so way back on the importance, because I don't think tons of molestations happen as a result of a drag show. Okay. So I don't believe that. But what I do believe is this forces us. This is like an axe. An axe is really skinny where it's sharp, and then it gets bigger as the wedge goes up. Yeah. It's chopping us. The log is getting chopped into half, and we're having to pick a side, even if we don't want to. We're just in the middle of the wood. We're having to pick a side. So my fear is, then all of a sudden you're in an environment. So if you're in an environment where you're like, well, gosh, I need to be really accepting. I need to prove people. I've got friends who are white who say all the time, they'll say something abhorrently racist. And then I say all the time, that's not fair. But they're like, I got a black friend. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things where once you get so much into a side, you may just do something to do it, or not know, or say, I'm so tolerant. My tolerance level is so high. Or like, I'm so anti-racist. Look at this black friend here. He's black, guys. He's black. You should just say, hey, I got a friend. His name's Doug, or what, whatever the thing is.
His race.
Right. But that's, we all know people that do this. What would happen hypothetically if you're like, look, I'm so tolerant of this movement that my 9-year-old.
What if your parent transitions?
Yeah, my 9-year-old is
non-gender confirming, and you're growing up in that household, and that's what you're told is reality.
Well, then it's an option. It's not that you have to do this, or
Well, no, you have to accept it.
Sure.
And that's the same thing going to church is. You have to accept it. You have to accept that you're going, and that is what it is.
Yeah, but the other side of that is you're going to like a eternal damnation if you don't. Like those are
couldn't it be the same way? If you don't accept this, then we're going to put you out.
I haven't heard.
If you don't like that this parent is non-gender conforming, then you're out.
Well, that's not eternal burning in hell. I think those are
still losing
put
your
it out
family.
of the house. That's your hell.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
one of the things that happened.
But I don't know that. Like, if you can find me an example of that,
could not.
Okay,
wouldn't even know where to look.
I'll listen. Yeah. But until then, it's just hypothetical. Like,
but a lot of the situation is hypothetical, because we're talking about
hypothetical.
small numbers of everything from a very minuscule point. Like even the people transitioning, this would be a small number.
But there are the real people who are that, like, this doesn't affect us,
right?
Like,
correct.
This isn't affecting us,
right?
Probably, but there are, but
very few people even in our county
going, right,
if any.
But it is going to affect some people.
Correct. And I'm not trying to say that, well, it's not important because it's such a small percentage or no percentage even. I wouldn't say that, but I just think that it feels like, hey, saying you got to be 18 to do all this other stuff, we are already limiting children's rights. As a country, we are limiting children's rights. And we have for as long as I can remember. I don't know when, you had to be 18 to smoke, 21 to drink, but for a long time, we've limited children's rights. Should this be a right that's granted, or it should be, look, you have to be an adult to do this? I think I fall on the camp of you got to be an adult to do this. I don't see enough upside. I see potential downside only because you can't make those decisions. And I wouldn't even blame the parents, because God bless parents. I mean, we all love our kids, and we want our kids to be as happy as possible.
Let me ask you this. This is sort of, this goes along. Do you have, how do you like the way the bill was termed? Do you like the way it was presented, the vernacular that was used?
I mean, no, but I don't know that I care enough about that. I don't know that I'm anti or pro or anti the terminology. I can go, what, do you have the terminology in front of you? I can go back and try to look on this article here.
I think, well, and I don't know if it's exact, but it's been referred to as the gender mutilation bill, right? Like
well, they do mutilate the genitalia to change it.
But there's a connotation to that word. Like we talk about connotation all the time in class, right? Like, there is a connotation.
But I mean, if you watch the video, which I've actually seen one where they split like if you were a boy transitioning to a girl, where they split it and pull it, and I mean, mutilation would be a word. Like I don't know what the medical word is there for, but I don't get caught up in that because that's dog whistling too the same way to me. Like whatever. What does the bill say? And I just think we do things right now societally to collect, because there's probably a kid. There's kids in France every day, 15, 16 years old, having a glass of wine with their meal, right? Yeah. They're not all drunk driving and listening to Skinner, right? I mean, it's not what happens. So, yes, sometimes people can handle things at a young age, but we govern with a big, wide, broad brush sometimes, and I just don't know that I could sign off on being okay with that.
We can't say we can give everybody that freedom when maybe less than 10% would be mature enough to make that.
To handle it. Gabe Hart, always a pleasure, my man.
Hey, is it already?
It is. I know. The show
He's like,
flies.
Let me get out of here.
I would have music playing, but the internet is still being a little wonky because of the windstorm. Julie, so great to have you back.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about like back on the show. You were gone. I'm glad you're back.
You could have said stay gone.
Stay gone. Let's get on out of here now. We actually have to skid on out of here now because Dave Ramsey is coming up. You are listening to 96.5. Dave Ramsey 1 to 3. Dan Reeves Show with Gina and Larry 3 to 6. Potential ball games tonight. If not, Daybreak will be back on Monday, 6 a.m., 6 to 8. New programming starting next week. Listen to Dan Reeves Show to find out more.
This is WBFG 96.5 FM. 96.5 FM. Parker's Crossroads, Jackson.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Prior to his sentencing, former attorney Alex Murdaugh continued to profess his innocence.
I respect this court, but I'm innocent. I would never, under any circumstances, hurt my wife Maggie, and I would never, under any circumstances, hurt my son Pawpaw.
As he prepared to hand down a sentence for double murder, South Carolina Circuit Court Judge Clifton Newman asked Murdaugh if he ever will tell the truth about what happened.
Oh, what tangle web we weave. What did you mean by that?
It meant when I lied, I continue to lie.
And the question is,